You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, I'm reporting live to you all from the great state of Texas, or better yet, Houston, Texas, which is the city to which I've grown up. I am here in the Lone Star State recording this podcast in the comfort of my bedroom, I guess. My mother's home's bedroom where I'm staying, lovely and comfortable. I have a little studio that is set up in here, which has been here since, goodness, I can't even recall. This is the new house. We live in Katy, which is a suburb of Houston. It's kind of like the main line adjacent, but I grew up on the southwest side of Houston, Texas, so don't get it twisted. But I do live in Katy now, not too far from Katy Mills, which is a good mall, a great mall, because, malls are like a dying art nowadays. People are not, going to malls like they used to. I mean, in Philadelphia, they're about to get rid of a mall called the Fashion District, but we'll talk about that later. But no, I'm here. I'm in Texas. Mr. Johnson and I, we're staying, for a couple of days. It's going to be like our lovely, winter break, in Texas. We always go down south for the winter, and for the Christmas time. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited to be home and, catch up on some of my chain restaurants that I can't get anywhere else, like Whataburger, which, people have tried to debate about Whataburger with me. We're not going to discuss Whataburger. Whataburger is a superior burger fast food spot. It is better than Shake Shack. It is better than In-N-Out Burger. I mean, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, we're not even going to talk about them. Um, and I will say that it's even better than Five Guys, even though my favorite burger chain on the East Coast is Five Guys. I think Five Guys is underrated with some of you folks out here that likes In-N-Out. I think Five Guys is better than Shake Shack. I think Five Guys is better than In-N-Out. I think it's better than a lot of places. Whataburger is my number one. And I'll tell you the reasons why I've come to this conclusion. So let me start off with Five Guys for you East Coasters, because a lot of my East Coasters are listening. Now, my Southern listeners, you already know what's up. But let me, in West Coast people, I don't know, In-N-Out is so mediocre. Like, I don't even understand why people just go up for it like that. It's just so corny to me. It's like an upscale McDonald's, to be honest. I don't get the hype for In-N-Out at all. But talking specifically about Five Guys in East Coast, I think the portion sizes are incredible. Now, I, of course, have been slimming and cutting back on not overeating. And so I like the little cheeseburger. But let me tell you something. There's nothing little about the little cheeseburger at Five Guys. That's a decent ass burger, to be honest. But I have had to tell them specifically, the little cheeseburger, one patty. You don't got to give me two patties. You don't got to do all the most, because that patty is juicy and sizzling enough. Also, what makes Five Guys great to me as well is the toppings. Like, they have so many toppings. They have so many options you can choose from. There's mushrooms. There's grilled onions. There's regular onions. There's tomatoes. There's pickles. There's peppers. I mean, they give you so many toppings to choose from, and they do not charge you extra for them. So that is key to me. Everything is cooked, ready to order. Everything just feels fresh. Those fries are incredible, but they give you a lot of fries. So I always get the little fries because the fries are ridiculous, but they're good, really good, like cut fries. I mean, just impeccable. So Five Guys will always have my heart. Now, if we're talking about overall, here's why I say Whataburger. Whataburger just perfects a good burger. It is so good that it does not necessarily need cheese. You can add cheese, but you don't need cheese. The beef on that burger is just top tier. The way in which they have a really great portion size burger that is a gourmet quality but done in a fast food manner is just impeccable. And the other thing I like about Whataburger is that it does not have all of the toppings that they do have the option. They don't have all the toppings that Five Guys have. But what I really like about their burger is that it's not a smashed patty. So these smash burgers, I'm not crazy. I mean, Five Guys probably have the best smash burger, out there. But Whataburger is not a smash patty. So a smash patty, for those who don't know, it's the really, 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 they take the meat and they smash it to a crisp, and it's got that real, real flat crisp. So most fast food places like McDonald's and them, they use like the smash, like Shake Shack is a smash patty. In and Out is a smash patty, and so is that. It's very, very crisp and small, so they layer it, but it's very, very well done. It's good, but it does require a lot of toppings to give the rest of the burger its essence and its flavor. And if you have it by itself or you have it dry, as they say, it wouldn't taste good. Whataburger is so good because it does not smash patty. It does not have that kind of element to it. And it's charboiled, it's a grilled energy. And it's seasoned well where you want to put lettuce, tomatoes on it, whatever, but you can have it with cheese or without cheese, and it's just so good. And so that just really stands out to me. And the other major plus about Whataburger and why it will always be number one, and this is my bias, is that they have onion rings. And I love onion rings. And I don't know what it is about the East Coast, but the East Coast really does not do onion rings often. I don't know if it's because there's not enough onion farms around or it's just expensive. I don't know what it is. But a lot of the fast food places on the East Coast do not really do onion rings. And so the fact that Whataburger has fries or onion rings, I always get the onion rings, that just is going to take it to the next level for me. Shout out to Burger King for being one of the few like major mainstream fast food spots that do onion rings. Because that is just they do it. Theirs is a little small and it's okay, but it would fill that void for me because it's hard to find onion rings out here. It really is. I'm thinking about places right now that I mean, a couple of places, but no one really do onion rings like that. It's East Coast. I don't know. The East Coast seem like they have an issue with onion rings, but down south it is more common. So I just love Whataburger, the onion rings, the burger. It just does all the things for me. Shout out to Taco Cabana, which is better than Chipotle, Qdoba, all of your little favorite spots. Taco Cabana is the truth. Taco Cabana comes with all the toppings, including guac. And I know that Qdoba allows you to do guac without extra, but Taco Cabana's on a whole nother level. Like they just do it well. They do everything. And it's just really good Tex-Mex. And I love Tex-Mex. And I just love it. And also in Texas, you can get a margarita. You can order drinks to go. You can drive out through the drive-throughs and get your drinks and then drive home. The East Coast, they don't do that. They don't serve liquor at fast food places. Just Texas is the wild, wild west, but it's just so good when it comes to food. Now, there are laws and other things, not so much. But the food situation here, it is incredible. I was leaving the airport and I was at the George Bush Intercontinental or whatever. They got an airport named after Bush, which is a lot. But again, this is what I mean by when I talk about Texas is, it's some good and some bad in the mix. But coming out of that airport, there was a big poster and it's talking about Texas cuisine, and it said that Texas is the culinary capital of the South. I so agree. Now, some of you all might say, what about New Orleans? Look, New Orleans is great. But I think the reason why Houston specifically, because people try to talk about Atlanta and all that. Child, Atlanta doesn't. We're not even gonna go there, okay? But I would say New Orleans might be second, right? But the reason why I think Houston is because we have all of the cuisines. We have seafood. We have Cajun. We have soul food. We have a good barbecue scene. We have a great Vietnamese, Nigerian culinary scene. we have a lot. We're a big melting pot in Texas. There's a lot of ethnicities and cultures and nationalities, and the cuisine here is just awesome as well. We have a lot of James Beard awarded restaurants, Michelin star honored, recognized restaurants. There's a lot going on in Texas. There's a lot of places that just are really exceptional. And that's what I love about it. Like there's like if you want seafood here, there are some really extremely well seafood places. If you want some Tex-Mex, we got great Tex-Mex food, like top tier, okay? Nympha's incredible. If you want Cajun food, like we're right over there. Cajun food is incredible here. I think we're the best in Cajun outside of New Orleans because a lot of people, of course, from the hurricane came down and stayed and then laid roots. Southern food, soul food, we got that going really, really well here as well. I mean, there's just a lot of great cultural food here. And so that's why I will always look at it as being a culinary capital compared to other places. So love it down, just a big fan, and it's great. Um, yeah, I really, I'm just happy to be home. I'm happy to be, I just, it's so funny. Every time I'm ready to take a nice trip or a little escape out of Philly, it always at the right time. I feel like there's times when Philly just be too hot, the block be too hot, it's too much going on. I need the East Coast just be feeling like it's too much. It's just too much going on East Coast. DC crazy, New York is wilding out. Philly is doing Philly shit. It's just like sometimes it's nice to be in some warm weather, away from all of just the craziness in general. And I'm just happy. I'm just happy to be home for a short period of time because I got to get back to the East Coast because it get a little too slow in Texas, and so sometimes I do want to get back to the speed. But I love this weather. It's going to be 70s all week. I'll be back in Philly on Friday, just in time to record the season 7 finale of Ernestly Speaking before we get to season 8 in January. So we'll be back then. But yeah, it's good to be home and also be home, like home, like yeah. So this week I was a part of. I did the finale, the season finale of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Yes, Piers brought me back. You can watch that episode on YouTube. It's available. It's the final episode, the most recent episode. I was on there with Esther, which is the British Candace Owens. I call her the British Candace Owens, and some other folks. And it was a good show. I have found my groove. Like I've been on this show for nearly 2 years. I made my first debut in, I want to say March. Was it March? I was in San Francisco, around San Francisco. I was at where I was at the studio. I was in Santa Clara for my book tour. We was just starting to launch the book tour, and this had to be around March of 2023. So it's been close to 2 years. And I made my first appearance talking about my book, The Case for Cancel Culture. And I was on he wanted me to come on his show, and we saw about Meghan Markle, and it was a moment. And ever since then, I've been on the show ever since. I've been on that show ever since. Can y'all believe that? It's been nearly 2 years, and it's been the most consistent media appearance I've been on a show I've been on. And for Piers Morgan, like Piers Morgan knows who I am. I know who he is. And this show is blowing up. Like he is, I mean, look, it's a very controversial show, but he has everybody comes on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Everybody wants to be on Piers Morgan Uncensored because so many views, so many people are watching it. And, look, it's got that right-wing edge, but people love when I'm on there. I'm the radical on that show. Like I'm considered radical. Like I'm the radical woke voice. And I've embraced it, but I come on there and I think, I've built a following. There's a lot of people that watch. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds and thousands. Like I kid you not. If you look at them YouTube views, he gets the views. And this is no, like that is a real show. The one show I've been on YouTube show I used to go on, was a Scorpion show. Kevin and Mikkel, who I'm really good friends with, I love them. I've known them for over a decade now, and they was, I've always recognized with my talent, I like to go places and go into spaces that are unique and different. Like everyone is trying to, and now people want to go on CNN, they want to go on MSNBC. But if you haven't been paying attention, people are not going on. Like people, is anyone watching CNN like they used to? Is anybody really watching MSNBC like they used to? Maybe Rachel Maddow, maybe Joy Reid, but I feel like cable TV is just not popping anymore. Like it's just not. Like people are going to alternative places. And as a journalist and as an innovator myself, I want to be places where is that people are uncharted territory, places that people are going to. And so I was one of the first people that was a part of that Piers Morgan uncensored wave. Before everybody, now everybody's on it. Mark Lamont Hill makes appearances on there. They got the guy from the Young Turks, Candace Owens, Tammy Lauren. Everybody's on there now. But I was one of the few early consistent voices and faces that was on that show when it first launched. And this was when he had left Good Morning Britain because he had been quote unquote canceled. And he created his own show. And he brought me on because he saw me tweeting about him. And I talked about him in my book and what happened to him. And he brought me on trying to grill me, and it kind of backfired in a way, but in a weird way. I guess he's a masochist. He wanted me to come back on. I was like, you like this torture, don't you? But it just makes great television. It just makes great entertainment. And it's been, so many appearances. I can't even count. I come on like every other month, every month. I feel like every twice a month or whatever. But he likes having me on. I like being on. And the viewers enjoy it. Times it get a little hot on the show. But I've come to realize there's an opportunity to provide, nuance and different perspective. And as long as it's civil, and sometimes it can be a little unruly, because he don't like me to talk sometimes because I feel like he knows I'm about to make points that he can't hold on to, he can't grasp. Because he likes to be with the shits. And then I like to be like, all right now. But there's a banter that we have that people enjoy watching. And, I enjoy being on the show. And it just makes great great entertainment and information. And, people love reading the book. When I'm on the show and I'm talking and, I get to promote my book and people get to find out about it. And I get to see the sales and, I get to go out there and expand my horizons and get people in the know about it. So, the Case for Cancel Culture is doing its thing. It's going to be 2 years, the 2-year anniversary is in February. And I'm actually going to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of the book in a very unique and special way. I'm not ready to tell you all about it, but I'll give you a hint. If you listen to the finale, that episode that I'm on, the last episode of, or the most recent episode, because he's on a break right now. He's on winter break. The most recent episode of Piers Morgan, where I make an appearance, at the end of the episode, he asked me what's coming up in 2025, and I actually reveal it on his show. So I like to drop Easter eggs. I'll be on my Taylor Swift shit. But if you want to know what it is, I actually do tell it. And actually, I wasn't even planning to. And my agent was like, wow. But I was like, if there was ever a place to do it, that would be the place to actually announce it. It's very relevant. I won't tell how. You go find out if you want to. If you don't want to wait to find out, go find out there. I do share the details there. And then I'll talk more about it on the show. But if you do find out, you listen and you can't listen, go check it out there and hit me up once you find out and DM me or whatever and let me know what you think. But it is something I've talked about for quite some time on this show in a unique way. Everything's always like full circle, but it was super dope. So just wanted to put that out there. Other things has been going on. So places I've went out to eat before I talk about the announcement that came earlier this week. I went to Mona, which is the new Mediterranean Greek restaurant that is in the Neighborhood or Midtown Village, however you want to call it. There is on Chestnut, there is an old furniture store that used to be there. This is replacing that furniture store. And that strip that I'm talking about on Chestnut Street, is it Chestnut? I think it's Chestnut, yeah. That strip in particular has had some interesting location, like changes. There's been a lot of things in that area that people have been ignoring. I enjoyed the restaurant. I thought it was really good. This restaurant is owned by Teddy Cervez. He is the guy. He's a big, huge, you know, entrepreneur, restaurant owner. He owns White Elephant, Pink Elephant. You know the little elephant spot with the cocktails. He owns that location. It used to be Bloom, and it became Bloom Burger. That location right there on 15th and Locust. He owns that. He owns that property. He's been turned into 5,000 different things. I ain't mad at him. He's a hustler. He also owns Uptown Beer Garden. A lot of people like to go down there and get wasted in the summer. It's really popping. But he owns Uptown Beer Garden. And he also turned it into that tiki place called Kikia, or whatever it's called, the little tiki little bar spot that's connected. He owns that as well. He just owns it all. And then some places that he owns, some strip. He owns that strip down there. That's that Chestnut Strip. Now, Tradesman, the barbecue place, he owns that. Right next to it is Brew. He owns Brew right there. And he also owns U-Bahn over there. All of them little spots right next to each other, he owns that. That's all Teddy. And then now he's expanding to further down on, I guess, Chestnut. You keep going down where Sugar Factory used to be. That location, that area keeps changing. They can't keep anything in there. It was Sugar Factory. Before that was another Italian restaurant. Layla and the Swan, I think, is over there now. But right next to there is where Mona is. And Mona's a Mediterranean restaurant. It's a really good restaurant. I like it. It's like an upscale Mediterranean fusion restaurant. That's how it's describing itself. It's cute. It's on 1308 Chestnut Street. Yeah, 1308 Chestnut Street. It just opened this month, and it's a Neo's Mediterranean cooking, like a very Neo's Mediterranean cooking. Lamb chops were on fire. They were on fleek. They were delicious. Greek salad. It was like a salad that was like a Greek salad that was really good. The cocktails are really good. He has a lot of fun. He's very Greek. The spot is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful new restaurants in Philadelphia, if I do say so myself. Very beautiful spot. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something about my thoughts about that in a minute. But it's gorgeous. Upstairs, downstairs. They're about to build up upstairs for brunch. They got a downstairs situation, downstairs bar that's really dope. That's already open. It's pretty in there. They got the flowers. It's gorgeous. Food is very good. The prices are fair and reasonable. It's not super expensive. It's very reasonable. Makes for a good date night. I went with a good homegirl of mine. We had a great dinner. It was a really good time. But I liked it. Overall, I thought it was a great spot. Now, let me tell you why you might be having sudden amnesia, might be thinking to yourself, Mediterranean place, beautiful, big. What's up with this? Yes, Amira. I went to Amira a couple of weeks ago. Now, Amira is owned, this is Amira. It's right across the street from Spice Finch and Rittenhouse by the Warwick Hotel. Let me tell you about Amira. Amira is owned by the family that own Astia, that Greek restaurant that's not too far from Rittenhouse. They're in the same area. They own both of those Greek restaurants. Amira is more upscale, clubby, nightclub vibe. Astia is more traditional, family-based Greek. And as you all know, there was a period of time where Mediterranean Greek food was not happening at all in downtown. Astia was like the godfather of Greek cuisine. And then shortly after, there's been a boom, right? So, okay, let's keep track together. Okay, Astia. Then next thing you know, you got Amira that opened last year. Then you just had, okay, I just went to Mona. Mona just opened. And then there's a new Michael Schulston restaurant, not Michael Salmanoff, Michael Schulston. His restaurant is called Dear Daphne that just opened. And that's in the Laurel building, and that's also in Center City. So there's been a boom in the past year. We have 3 brand new Mediterranean restaurants that have opened in the past year. Teddy, you got Teddy Cervez, which is his company, his restaurant, his company is called it's Craft. I think it's the restaurant team behind it is they're like a night they're popping, but they're part of the his restaurant group. He has a restaurant group, Teddy does, and he owns all these different spaces. He also owns the one-on-one speakeasy, Craft Concepts Group. So they own Uptown Beer Garden, one-on-one speakeasy, and Tradesman, and also the White and other places like that. But a lot of people are saying the scenery looks like the White Lotus, the HBO show. It's a 24-seat bar. They have floral arrangements, and it's very dramatic. But the food was really good. I mean, they had some really good food. They had, lamb chops. They had palms puree. They had branzino with sauteed spinach. They had provincial sauce going with it. They got gyros. They got kebabs. They got shrimp orchetti, which is a really great Greek dish, pasta primavera. They got a lot of salads, small plates, and soups. It's very good food. It was a good time at Mona. I have not been to Dear Daphne just yet, but I hear Dear Daphne is very good looking and very pretty as well. But I saw this to say, like, we are having a massive Greek invasion. Like, I knew the biggest trend for a period of time was seafood. Like, we are in a seafood era too. There's like a lot of seafood restaurants popping up in Philly. I mean, that's been Lock Bar. You have Lock Bar. You got the new restaurant I'm actually about to go to, Jaffa Bar in Philly. I went to the one in Brooklyn with Abel, but Mr. Johnson and I are going to go in January to Michael Salmanov's restaurant, Jaffa, which is like the new Israeli. It's over there in Kensington, East Kensington. It's an Israeli seafood restaurant, and we're gonna go there. And then there is Outremer, which just opened earlier this year, and that is Townsend Wentz got a seafood restaurant. That is the new seafood restaurant he has. But there's also a new restaurant by a woman named Liz Goff in Queens Village called Scampi, which is a cute little seafood restaurant with a tasting menu. Just opened as well. So there's like a big seafood. There's a big Mediterranean. Is that the trend, y'all? Are we on the South Beach diet? For those who remember the South Beach diet, I feel like we're in the South Beach diet era of Philly cuisine. Like I feel like Philly dining is on its huge, it's on its huge South Beach diet. Everything is seafood. Everything's pastas and Mediterranean and fresh vegetables. I mean, it's a wave. I'm not complaining about it. I like it, but it's interesting. Which brings me to another thing, sidebar, because I want to say this sidebar. I'm not going to throw shade, but I do feel so. Amina Restaurant Group, the owners are in favor of the 76ers arena. One of the owners of Amina Restaurant Group went to the hearing at City Council and talked about how she thinks it's going to give jobs and great opportunities. So I just decided for myself, I'm just not going to go to any restaurants. And now that I am not in a food editor capacity, I can just be honest with you all. I'm not a fan of the restaurants. I'm just going to be right honest. And now that they support the 76ers arena and all that, yeah, I've never been a fan. If you all would want to know what I think is some of the worst restaurants in Philadelphia, I'm not crazy about Amina. I feel like it is overrated. The food is not good. I have not had a good experience there personally. I'm not crazy about the service, the food, the whole vibe. I'm just not crazy about it. What has been interesting is they've opened up a bunch of restaurants all throughout Philly so fast. I think the fifth or sixth restaurant in the past like year and a half. I find it interesting because I'm just like, most people do not open so many restaurants until they let one restaurant breathe and whatever. But they just opened Black Hen, which the chicken there, it's not good. I mean, like, who wants to eat like a black, like dyed waffle or bread for a chicken? I just think the conception of it is just weird and just also just not good. Fia, whatever they call it, they just opened that like just in the fall. Another miss for me, just also not good. Okay, that's the third restaurant they've opened, right? Then they have an event space or something they're about to do. They got an event space that just opened that's going to be doing the catering of their food. Yeah, that's a no for me as well. And then there's going to be an Amina Ocean, which is going to be a seafood situation in West Philly. Yeah, I wasn't feeling the seafood at the original Amina. I don't think that's going to be it for me as well. look, they're developing and putting these restaurants around town. People, I guess, are running towards them. I guess. I just think this is reminding me of Kevin Sabraga, even though Kevin Sabraga is incredible. And I'm not comparing the quality of food to Kevin Sabraga. I'm comparing the level of fast investment development, where Kevin Sabraga had a hit with Sabraga, which was a self-titled restaurant. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Mr. Johnson, that was one of our first date night restaurants, one of our fine dining restaurants. That was 10 years ago. That was an incredible restaurant. And it was in Center City. It was down Broad. Sabraga was an incredible restaurant. Then he opened the Fat Ham. And that is one of my all-time favorite Philly restaurants. It's one of my all-time Philly favorite restaurants. That Sunday supper menu on Sundays was one of my favorite dining experiences. When it closed down, I was heartbroken. It was the best restaurant in University City. And when the Fat Ham closed down, I was heartbroken. But this is because Sabraga was expanding too much, right? He had the Fat Ham right after. Then he put the Fat Ham, he had a Fat Ham in KOP. Then he had Juniper Commons that was just a total flop. But this man had opened like 4 restaurants. And then he tried to then move and do some work at the Fiddler Club. And that deal just did not go through. And now he's out of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. He's now, I think, in the Midwest in Minnesota somewhere doing a little smaller scale restaurant situation. But he rose into prominence. He's one of those food network stars, chefs, was on Top Chef, all that. He's black. He was doing some incredible work, and then it just crumbled. And it was sad to watch. But he's doing okay now, but he's just not in Philly. He kind of, Philly just wasn't good to him. And it was sad because he was like one of my favorite chefs when I came into Philly. Like when I really got into the Philly food scene, it was Sabraga who I loved. I loved him, and Jose Garza's that is holding on. Garza's is holding on to some of his restaurants, but he isn't where he used to be. But Garza's, those two, Sabraga and Garza's was like my faves. And then Steven Starr, I like Steven Starr, but Steven Starr has always been like, chill. Michael, both of the Michaels, Michael Solmanov and Michael Schultzen, I fell in love with their restaurants many, many years later. But I remember there was a time where myself, Mr. Johnson, and Dr. Parks, my girl Amanda, and it was somebody else. We called this person the Spice Thief. I'm not going to name them, but Amanda's laughing right now. I know, listen to me say the Spice Thief. So the Spice Thief, myself, Mr. Johnson, and her went to Zahav before Zahav was like the thing that everybody, you couldn't get arrested. We went one time on a Sunday. We just rolled up there, had a cute little dinner there like it was nothing. My homegirl, my good Judy Amanda, she hadn't been back ever since because it was so hard to get reservations. But we went about a year ago. We all went and I was able to snag a reservation. We all went and had a good time, had a good dinner. But I'm telling y'all, it was, and Zahav is still hits. I mean, incredible. Years later, still hits. Still one of the best restaurants in America. Still one of the best restaurants in Philadelphia. It's one of the GOATs, okay? Zahav is top tier. That tasting menu is one of my favorite all-time tasting menus. So just want to put that out there. But yeah, I'm in love. I'm in love with the food scene. But yeah, I'm not crazy about Mina's. I just want to put it, because a lot of y'all always ask me, what restaurants do you don't like? I'm going to be able to tell y'all some restaurants I don't like. I'll start there. I'm not going to just name everybody's, but I ain't trying to do all that. But I feel like it was just timely for me to just say that. You will never catch me at Amina's. I will not be there. I will not be at any of those places. I will on green eggs, by hen, a black hen, a green egg, Sam I am. No ma'am, Sam I am. I do not want those green eggs or that ham. Not crazy about those restaurants. So that's just me. That's my opinion. I don't care for it. And the thing about me is that I will never, I've always tried never to, in my work, publish or post bad reviews or anything. So I don't really do bad reviews. I just don't talk about it. So when people say, have you heard about Amina? I say, who? Because that's just the way that I respond, because I don't want to, publicize or go on Front Street. But given that they recently made that, they took that stance and they went publicly about it at the hearing, I said, well, if you all are going to be outwardly making bad decisions, then I'm just going to be outward about how mediocre and trash your food is. Because listen, I'm just mean that energy. I don't like it. And that's why you never saw me write about it or really put them on any list or really did anything like that because I just no. Um, Now that I'm out of, I can say some things. I did a list earlier this year on the top 15 black-owned restaurants, and they were not included. And there were people that were like their publicists that asked me, like, why are they not on there? Do you know there's a black owned? I'm very much aware, but I'm very much aware, but they just do not hit it. And I think people just think that just because you're black owned, that automatically you're good or people should support. No, I mean, you listen. I support black-owned restaurants, good black-owned restaurants. Like I love South. South is incredible. I love South. I love Honeysuckle Provisions. I love Omar Tate's restaurant, his concepts. I think they're great. The Bynum brothers are great as well. I love South. I love Star Fusion. I think Star Fusion is a really good, fast, casual place to get food. Shout out to all the different endeavors of Kurt Evans. I know people have been having mixed reviews and thoughts about his Black Dragon, but I like the fact that he took a risk and he's creative and he did something very thoughtful and he's doing something very meaningful. I like the brothers over there down north. I love their pizza. I think their spot is really good. I love their pizza. I think they have some of the best pizza in the city. Some of the best pizza in the city, and I really mean that. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of great places out there that are black owned that I support. I mean, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is black owned. That's my favorite restaurant, period. I love them. So, you know, let's be, sometimes people like to weaponize racial identity and weaponize their identity to try to, kind of sometimes I won't say bully, but try to intimidate people to supporting or promoting them. It don't work that way. It's just not good. And here's the thing, like I've made that clear. Like, they try to ask for influencing people to come out there and stuff. And look, I don't have it in me. Some of my friends, some people I know, they'll go when they want to support, but I can't do it because I have a reputation. I will never point you in the direction of bad food. If I like something, if whatever you see me shout out or promote or my IG page, understand that I ate it, I liked it, and I would never recommend something that I would not eat. So the reason why you've never heard me talk about Amina, I never put a picture of their food or never promoted it, because I don't like the food. And let me be clear, I've tried it, I've gone, and I didn't go one bad day. I went multiple times, but after a couple of times, it's like I'm not about to play myself. Okay, I'm just not. And some people, sometimes in most diners, look, it only take one bad restaurant experience for some of y'all not to go. But for what I have done in my career and the work that I do around food reviews and restaurants, I go a couple of times. Let me tell you, I go different days. I go different time periods. I was like, I really wanted to like Amina. Like, I really wanted to give them a shot, because they were black owned. I was like, I want to support. And I didn't go when they first opened. I gave it I've gone several iterations. And every time I popped in or went through or did a tour or whatever, it was not good. It just was not. It's inconsistent. Maybe that's the word I should use. It's inconsistent. I found that when I went on different days or different times I had went there, that one time I would go, I liked one thing on the menu. And I was like, oh, that's really good. And I told a friend, you should get that. And the next time I went, and I tried to go back and get that same thing, that wasn't good. And I tried to get something different, and then it just was just inconsistent. And so I just find the inconsistency. Sometimes the restaurant is not good when it's inconsistency. Now, there's another restaurant that I have not mentioned. I know a lot of y'all looking like, we're going to ignore the elephant in the room. What do you think about that place in your backwoods? You talking about Booker's? Okay, let me tell y'all about Booker's. I used to struggle with Booker's. I'm in a place now where I can be honest about Booker's because the management, the ownership has established his identity. I want to be very clear about it. Stick with the basics there. You know what it is? It's not a bad restaurant. Booker's is not a bad restaurant. The problem with, I think, Booker's, and I think what the owners are trying to do, I think they have had certain conversations. I've heard some of the language where they talk about it in a way where they wanted to be in certain conversations that I think that it's not appropriate. They're not James Beard worthy. They're not Michelin star. They're not somebody tried to call it. What was it? So there's a restaurant in Chicago, y'all know I love in Chicago. This black-owned restaurant in Chicago that is incredible. And I love this place down. And a lot of people will try to, argue me down, but I think it's one of the best black owned restaurants in the country. And there are people who, have different thoughts and things, but I love this place. And I think for some folks that talk about some of the places and restaurants, there's some great places in Chicago, but what I like in Chicago, places that I find to be just a great place to go and eat, and enjoy life and just really celebrate, is Virtue. Virtue is incredible. Virtue's a great restaurant, right? I think they are trying to be in a Virtue conversation. But the problem with Booker's is the good thing about Booker's, but you gotta have to have your mind around it. The thing about, okay, so the bad about Booker's is that I think that they think that they're in a Virtue conversation. Virtue as in the Chicago James Beard winning restaurant in Chicago, one of the best black-owned restaurants in America, period. They make soul food, Southern comfort food, right? And they do it really, really well, right? Booker's wants to be that. I think Booker's think they can be that. I don't know if they can be that at this point. There might have been a time when they could have. But I think that, and I'm trying to make sure I'm mindful about what I'm saying and how I'm saying, because I want to make sure this hits and lands the right way. That the thing that works against them in that is the thing that works in its benefit in another direction. So in the issue with the menu, but also the blessing with the menu, but the issue with that menu is that it's too many damn items. The menu's too big. It's too many options, like the Cheesecake Factory. There's so many different wings, so many different flavors, so many different appetizers, so many different dishes. They got something for everybody. It's an all-day cafe. They got brunch, lunch, dinner. They're open like almost every day of the week. And so they got so many things on the item, on the menu. A lot of this stuff on the menu goes from mid to great. But great is very rare. I would say mid to good. So I don't think there's anything that's just god-awful on the menu, but there's some stuff on there that's mediocre. There's some dishes, there's some items on the menu that's just super flush, and it's mediocre. And then they have some stuff on the menu that's good, that I'm like, you know what, this is just good. And they have consistently good things. But then there's just some stuff that's just straight up mediocre. It's just not good. It's not bad. It's just not hitting. And so it's, there's some stuff that's just like, when you go to some restaurants, like, this is just bad. This is disgusting. Take it off the menu. I don't feel like they have things on the menu that's just so horrible that you gotta take off, but it's just very basic, very mid, very like, okay. And they have stuff on the menu that's very good. So stuff that's really good. Like, I love their short rib. When they do short rib, their short rib is good. I do like their gumbo as an appetizer. I think it's a very fine gumbo at the price rate point. I do like their gumbo. It is consistent. I love the spiciness of it and the warmth. I love their mango salmon, their spicy mango salmon dish. That is a very good, consistently good dish. That every time I get that, I love that spicy mango salmon dish. That is good, consistently good. And I love their short rib. Their short rib has been consistently good. It's a good menu item. Outside of that, as far as the other dishes go, I mean, the blackened catfish, whatever, it's okay. It's all right. Again, it's mid. It's just, can't go wrong with that. Brunch there is okay. Brunch is a solid because it's standard. It's good. It's a good brunch. The brunch is good. It ranges from to good. Solid brunch. I feel like brunch might be their strong spot. Dinner is okay too if you know what you're getting. I feel like their strongest spot is their brunch. Their brunch is a good vibe. And you're not just there for the food, but the vibe. But here's my critique about this, and this is why I say it's a good thing. I think that they're a good neighborhood. They're a great neighborhood restaurant. It is a great neighborhood bar. It's a great neighborhood spot to hang out. It's phenomenal. They understand the community. They understand the vibe. It's a great neighborhood restaurant. It's a mediocre citywide restaurant. Does that make sense? Like, that's a good, like, I live in West Philly. So, I go to Booker's probably more. I've gone to Booker's more than I've gone to any other restaurant in Philly. So I don't want to hear anybody say, "Oh, Ernest, why you being so negative? Why you da da da?" Because you know what it is? I have given more money to Booker's than any other restaurant in well, money probably not, because some restaurants have shaking me down a little bit more. But I've patronized Booker's more than any restaurant. I've patronized Booker's more than any other restaurant in Philly this year. Second place is Rex at the Royal, which is phenomenal. Chef Ange is doing her big one over there. Shout out to Chef Angie Brown, my chef of the year. But outside of that, Booker's is my number one. It's because it's near me. It's the perfect place. I love that they're open every day of the week. I love they have a breakfast, lunch, dinner situation. I love that there's always a spot I can go. I can always be guaranteed an opportunity to have a seat. And I love that. If you have a reservation, don't have a reservation, they will make some room for you there. I appreciate that. I appreciate the culture, the vibe, how it feels. That is what makes that place great. Culinary, it's not up there necessarily. It's not the most culinary spot, and that's okay. I just want the owners to understand that. Like, you all have a lot going on there, and that's okay. Make your money, fill them, put some asses in seats. Be happy that you have a restaurant that everybody in town knows about it, and it's a spot that people go for a good drink, a good bite, a good happy hour, whatever. That's okay. Trying to be something else and be prestige, that's not your ballpark. That's not where y'all at. You know, unless y'all gonna do some revamping to the menu and tone the menu down. But here's the thing, if you tone the menu down, you're gonna lose seats. So it's a gift and a curse. Because if they really do want to be a more serious restaurant, they will have to change the whole. First of all, they need to renovate the place. I need some new furniture in there. Y'all need to y'all gotta renovate that place down. They don't want to do that. They didn't spend so much money on the damn spot just owning it that they got to make their money. Because really it's giving upscale glory. Let me get my words right. It's giving upscale hole in the wall. Versus if I said upscale, I was about to say another. Let me not even say that because people y'all gonna cut up. Because I was gonna say glory in the mix of something else when I said hole in the wall. If you put those words together, it's not the right word. I was trying to say, not the right phrase. So I'm not even gonna put that together. But it is an upscale hole in the wall. It reminds me of a more loungier, more cool, more chill. Oh my goodness. Where did the people like to go to the other side of town? And y'all love this place. Y'all always be telling me about it. And I'll be like, Lou and Choose. It's a more family-friendly, more relaxed and chill Lou and Choose. Because Lou and Choose, that's a different type of spot, you know. So I will say that it is definitely a more family-oriented Lou and Choose, for sure. So definitely gotta give them love for that. So it's you know, it's got its hits and its misses, but you know, just stay in your lane, stay in your lane. Also other places I went to for great food. I went to, I had some great ramen, this weekend. Mr. Johnson and I hung out with Amber and Liz, which is his good friends. We had like a little double date. It's long overdue. And it was snowing on Friday, a little light snow that melted. But it was snowing, and it was like we already planned to go get ramen. It was the perfect weather, the perfect situation. It was perfect. And then we had Indian before we went to Houston. We went to New Delhi for Indian. It's just a buffet. It's always a good time. I can't imagine eating Indian food without it being buffet because I just love all the different dishes, and I could be indecisive. I wouldn't know. I just cannot imagine having an individual. Like I feel like I have done takeout for Indian, and normally when I do takeout, I will get chicken tikka masala and I'll get some samosas, and of course the naan, narada. And I'll be okay with that. That's my fix. But honestly, if I'm at a restaurant, I'm sitting down, I just have to have Indian food buffet style because I just don't know it any other way. Some people say that's how they feel about Chinese food, but you're not really eating real Chinese food at Chinese restaurants, to be honest. Like Chinese buffets, unless you like, I mean, they're so Americanized and commercialized. I don't feel like that's like real Chinese food to a certain extent. But to each their own. But that's what I've been doing. I've been eating, going to nice restaurants, chilling, relaxing, you know, just really relaxing because I finally made a big announcement. So I have a new role. I told you all this was coming soon. I'm so super excited to finally announce my new role. I am the Diversity Visiting Lecturer Fellow. I know that's a long ass title, but the title matters for various reasons. but I am the Diversity Visiting Lecturer Fellow at Community College of Philadelphia, CCP. Yes, in this new and exciting role, I'm going to continue serving as a professor at CCP's English department. I'm teaching three courses. Three courses. I'm teaching public speaking, tech in the workplace, and group communication. But I will also have more, a bigger role. I'll be impacting the media course program studies. I'm going to be impacting that. Their assessment, development of courses. I'm going to be doing student mentoring. I'm going to be working around retention. I'm going to be helping advise the academic license of CCP in general. I'm going to be participating in graduation. I'm going to be doing recruitment events. I'm going to be doing general assemblies and student life activities, all kinds of cool stuff. And I'm going to really be able, and this is what I'm really, really excited about outside of this, is that I'm going to be able to spearhead these real big, large scale journalism and diversity outreach programming through organizations I'm a part of, like PhillyCam, like Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists, and more. And there's some really big things coming in 2025. And I'm so excited to be able to announce it. This was the opportunity that was knocking on my door for this entire semester. And I knew I had the role right before Eater buyouts came. And I can now say all this because now everything's signed, everything died. I can now say some things. But I got the offer and knew I was going to get this fellowship the day before the Eater restructuring happened and I had my severance package. Had I would have told, my employers at Eater that I was leaving on that Wednesday, I would have never been eligible for the severance package to buy all of that. I would have not been getting paid. So I'm getting paid from Eater through my severance package. And I'm also about to be getting my new job, my new role at, Community College Philadelphia that starts at the beginning of January 6th. So I'm it's almost like breaking up and getting like alimony. Like, this is the best situation ever. I couldn't say anything about it, because, you gotta sign your paperwork and do everything. But sometimes it pays literally to be quiet. Sometimes you don't gotta be so quick to run and be like, yo, I'm about to hit. Sometimes you gotta wait it out. And the difference between saying something and not saying something was a 24-hour difference that could have changed my trajectory. But to be clear, I was always planning to announce this position around this time. I was planning on this very day to actually let Eater know, because technically my last day at Eater before we went to the winter break would have been on Monday, the 23rd of December. And so I was planning to let them know and then announce this on Monday, like today, the first day you're listening to this podcast, so the 23rd. I was going to do that. And then I was going to start my new position in January, which would be like my little 2-week notice. And I would have been able to, come into the new year with a new role. And that would have gave y'all time to, miss me from Eater and everything. But the universe had other plans, right? And so sometimes when you try to plan, divine intervention kicks in with a sense of humor. And so this all happened in a different way than I expected, but it was a blessing in disguise. And so I'm grateful, I'm grateful for the people at Eater. I'm grateful for unions and Vox and severance packages and all that good jazz. So yeah, I'll have an office at CCP. I'll have my own office. But to be clear, I will still continue doing WRD, this podcast, other projects I'm working on in journalism and media. I'm going to still be doing all of that. And in many ways, all of that is going to be further enhancing my experience in this role. I'll be in this position. This particular fellowship is 2 years. So I'll be around for a good, change with this role. And then, it's setting me up for an opportunity to advance further on in my CCP journey. So I will not only be in CCP for 2 years, I'll be in CCP for a period of time. But this fellowship is developing me and working with me to consider other options down the road. But, let's just focus on these 2 years and see what happens next. But I am super excited about this. This is something that was just calling on me for a period of time. It wasn't something I went for. Actually, there were faculty within the English department that encouraged me to shoot my shot for this. I thought that, could this even work with my schedule? Would they even want someone like me doing it? Like, I was having imposter syndrome. I was just thinking to myself, does this make sense? And I took the meeting and I talked and I looked into it and I did my research and I was just like, and I found out some things and I was like, hey, what if I wanted to do this? Would this happen? And the dean was just like down with it. I mean, everyone was enthusiastic. The president, Dr. Generals, was incredible. He's been very supportive. And I just said, this just makes sense. And when I came to CCP this semester, I just wanted to be an adjunct professor. I just wanted to just be able to just teach and do something differently. But did not think that coming right into this, I would enter this new exciting role, this opportunity to make a difference and do something beyond just teaching. Like I'm going to be influencing curriculum. I'm going to be influencing programming. I'm going to be able to really do more and be paid. Ooh, this is a nice little paycheck. I ain't going to hold you. It's a nice paycheck. The money is definitely good. And the benefits and all the other resources and other things. It's not all about money, but money, listen, I don't do nothing for free anymore, okay? You can't be out here picking my brain anymore. But I'm very fortunate and I'm very grateful. And it's so funny, just a sidebar about haters. But it's funny that, for the 2 weeks while I was quiet, the haters was just speculating, baby. They was like, oh, he's done for. Oh, it's a wrap. It's a this, it's a that. And y'all don't know how much it took out of me because there was times I was like, no, 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 no. You do no, don't, you announce on your time. Take your time. I did tell my friends, my close friends on the low, but I just said, you know what? Let them talk because then when it comes out, everybody gets silent again. You know, put it out on the internet. Everybody, everybody's showing love. All my friends and every fans and supporters and stuff. Everybody was showing love and excited. But it's interesting that the haters just went back to Chewbacca's cave. They went back into the hibernation. They just had to put their head down because they swore they had some tea. Oh, he ain't there no more. Oh, I heard he's done. I heard he was this. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm done. I'm going. Okay. Okay. He ain't got nothing coming up. He just trying to lead y'all in suspense. I said, oh, okay. All right. And then this came. So listen, I'm gonna always have some 2020 vision and some insight. That third eye is gonna always be open and awake. I'm gonna always be ahead of my own curve. Like I said, I've been studying media trends. Have y'all not seen what's been going on out here in the industry? All these layoffs, all these I'm telling all of my journalism folks, get multiple streams of income. It is time to diversify your skills. It's not enough anymore in this business. Like, look, Joy Reid and Stephanie Ruel over there at MSNBC got to take pay cuts to keep their shows. Baby, we ain't taking no cuts over here. We moving upward. But I say this to say a lot of times, I've been ahead of the game. I'm gonna talk my shit. Let me talk my shit real quick. Let me talk some big shit real quick because I've been waiting to say this because throughout my career, I've been telling professional journalists that we got to mix it up, y'all. We got to diversify our income. We have to just do things differently. And people were just like, oh, all them jobs, all that's just too much. You just do one career, retire. The way the industry is going and changing, you can't do it like that. I learned that over 10 years ago. One of my former mentors got laid off at the Inquirer. I remember when they left and I was like, well, shit, you was there for all them years and they just gonna let you go? And they said, do freelance. And I didn't even know what freelance was at the time. I never heard of it before. And that became my grace. I created my LLC many years ago, created my own website, started to hustle. And I just began to develop a sense of recognizing that at the end of the day, companies are going to come and go. Listen, they don't give a fuck about you when you're not working for them. When they go, they go. So sometimes you want to look out and you think you're looking out for companies. No, get what you got to get because at the end of the day, when they're done with you, they don't give you a 2 weeks notice. They be letting you go immediately. They be taking your shit. They want you to submit your laptop and everything. And so when you hear those horror stories, you don't want to go through that. I never wanted to go through a situation where all of my livelihood is in the hands of one company. So getting laid off meant that my whole flow would have to stop. I never wanted to give any company that kind of power over me. So when I got the boot or whatever at Eater, it didn't even feel like bad. I was like, wow, I'm walking out with a severance. Okay, cool. Thank you. A good one too. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate that. And I just was like, okay, on to the next. And the crazy part was I already sensing changes. And so I was like, well, what I wanted to say in my head was like, I was about to leave anyway. But shit, y'all beat me to it. And this time I'm walking out with a bag. That's great. But those are the things that I think sometimes people don't understand or they underestimate is the agency and the ability to be able to choose your destiny and control it. And sometimes it might feel scary and intimidating, but if you're going to put your fate, I think it's scary and intimidating to put your fate or your career or your livelihood in the hands of one employer in 2024. I feel like everybody should have some type of side hustle or streams of revenue or other things. Trust and believe. Mr. Johnson is about to start 2 businesses. He got 1 business already. He about to have another one. But he worked at the city. He got a city job, stable income, wonderful benefits. He's doing his thing. But even though that is the case, he just likes to have other streams of revenue and income and opportunities. And we've been like that as a couple because we see how the industry is. We see how companies are. We see how people operate. And so you just never want to be in a situation where you lose your job and you lose everything in one sentence. You lose your sense of self, identity, purpose, all that. I've never wanted to be so attached to a company where that was my entire identity. While others might want to project their, myself, like they like to label me with stuff and think that that's making me be legit. Baby, I'm already legit. It don't matter where I go, what I do. I'm legit based off of the impact I've made and continue to make. And it does not require a job title anywhere else. Because when I think about like my situation now, no longer being an eater, restaurants are still asking me to come. Venues are still asking me to come through because while I was there, I was doing Google reviews. And I built a massive following around restaurants and recommendations. That doesn't change just because my title changed. It just means it's just changing the location where I'm at. So there will always be me giving you all recommendations of restaurants, whether it's on my own platform or other platforms and partnerships or whatever. I will always be having something to say about restaurants because I've invested so much of my life into it. So, message for people out there who might be thinking, oh, does this matter? Why does this matter? It do, and it can, and it matters. So I'm just very fortunate to be in a position where I was able to set my own terms and be able to create my own exit strategies and bounce back. And it wasn't even a bounce back. It was just like I was able just to bounce. That's fortunate. And so I'm very grateful for that. And it was like it is to me my Christmas gift to myself. It's just reminding myself of my worth, my talent, my ability to pivot, and just to see that years later, that I'm still being able to pat myself on the back and say, this is why, and I'm happy for it. So just want to put that out there. So into hot topics. There's been a lot going on. But let's talk about the government shutdown that almost could have happened because Republicans can't get out their own way. Republicans cannot stop fighting each other. The Democrats had to save the Republicans, right? Because the Senate passed the measure. So the Congress approves spending extension. The government shutdown crisis is over. The Senate's at Biden's desk shortly after the midnight deadline, so the funding did not lapse. There's a lot going on there. But it's very telling because the GOP spending hawks are definitely sticking it to Trump. They're backing down. Trump has been known for having a tight grip on Republicans, but there has been a rare rejection of his demand to suspend the debt limit because that was the thing. He wanted to suspend the debt limit, and it's reflected a disconnect that could plague his entire policy agenda. That's what's being reported by New York Times and other major outlets, that this situation with the shutdown is showing us that Trump is not about to just go up in here and get his way. That there's going to be checks and balances by members of Congress. And even with the government shutdown, it required Democrats to have to vote to save it. Because at first they didn't have enough votes. And Democrats had to step in, but they was able to set the terms that they wanted to. And that was something that people did not pay attention to at all. They didn't. They just really slept on how much he won this election and just thought that he was just going to have his way. And I think a lot of us projected that on him. But at a certain point, I began to realize that actually Trump does not hold as much power as people give him. I think a lot of people hold him in this fear. And I think to a certain extent, the fear is just misguided. I think that there is other ways that Trump is going to make an influence. But I think some people need to wake up a little bit and not be so quick to just pass all the power to him so fast and so swiftly. So, we're gonna see. But I don't. I'm a little cynical. I'm a little cynical about a lot of the hype that he's been given so far. I just feel like a lot of people have been so quick to just throw in the towel and give up and just say, "Oh yeah, Trump, it's Trump's world and we're just living in it." I mean, to some extent, that is still there is Trump. I'm not going to act like he doesn't have any influence, but I do think to a certain degree we have to recognize that not everybody in Congress, even Republicans, are as gun ho about letting him do whatever. And also this rhetoric around Elon Musk. Everyone's been asking me, like, is Elon Musk running the White House or whatever? Well, clearly not. Clearly not. Clearly he's not the one running things as much as we think he is. I think that him and Trump are going to have a moment, though, because Trump does not like to let anybody want to take his spotlight. Have y'all noticed how J.D. Vance has kind of sat back and kind of just been chilling? Yeah, J.D. Vance is, he's still out here, but he ain't out here like that. J.D. Vance is playing it cool, calm, and collective because he could be a one-term, he's going to be a one-term VP that might be able to just slide right into the presidency after 4 years. It's a possibility that he might be the future of the party, given that he might be the heir apparent to the throne. We'll see. But what this tells me is that Elon is getting a little too much dip on his chip. And at a certain point, Trump gonna like it until he don't like it. And I can see, I don't think this relationship between Trump and him gonna last too long. I don't see it. I mean, Trump doesn't really keep any relations with anybody that long, to be honest. So I don't see it happening, to be honest. I think it's just he's just moving too fast and too impulsive. Musk is for Trump to be okay with that. I mean, sure, he gave money to the campaign, but ain't that much money in the world for Trump's pride to not be to be shitted on consistently. So that's very telling. I mean, Republicans are fighting each other. They're fighting each other right now. And so are Democrats. Democrats are fighting. The girls are fighting. Everybody's fighting. There's leadership positions happening right now. There's speculation that Nancy Pelosi is trying to block AOC from getting certain appointments and chairs, even though AOC gave a wonderful speech at the DNC. She showed up for the establishment. She showed up for the blue. And I guess that wasn't good enough. And so, once again, Nancy's trying to get her hands in it. I'm at a certain point where I'm like, look, Nancy, you had your reign. You had your reign. You had your moment. You had your moment. You flexed. You did everything you wanted to in your power. Now it's time for you to let go. It's time for you to let go. It's time for you to fall back because you've had enough. You've had enough power. You've had enough influence. It's time to let some other people be able to, have a shot, have an experience. So I'm a little reserving my thoughts about that because I feel like she's just been all up in the mix a little too much. And it's like, I get it that to some degree you want to still protect the party, but are you protecting the party at this point? I mean, let's be for real. Are you really protecting the party at this point? I mean, a lot of the stuff with Biden and the pushing out of Biden allegedly, that should happen much sooner. And I don't know. I just feel like people are getting tired of establishment power. Establishment power is becoming, I think, what people are tired. I think Trump is now the establishment. Trump is no longer the outsider in Washington. He is the establishment. He is the formal Republican establishment. When you become the establishment, that comes with a certain level of expectations and responsibility. So, I don't know what to expect. I think there's a lot to be said about him. But I just feel like right now, most Americans, I think, are getting tired of this government infighting across both ends. They're like, what the hell are y'all doing? Do we need to come up there and storm the Capitol again on January 6th? But this time, not an insurrection, but a demand that government do right by the people. Maybe that's what it's going to take. I don't know. But this ain't it, in my opinion. also too, there's just been some other interesting stuff, and people's been asking my thoughts about some of the things I've been seeing lately. So, everybody's been talking about how Biden is, he's been, pushing his final priorities. He's done some interesting things. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. He has made a point to prioritize some of these appointments. I mean, he's got us like over 200 something appointment judges um out there, and I think that that's been helpful. Um so that's been that. I mean, I would give that a level of praise. Um you know, these judge appointments, he's appointed more black women to judge seats. That's going to really help block, and he's done more. He's even surpassed Trump with the appointments, but he's been getting these judges in that can help, in some of these appellate courts and other courts, help block some of the shit that he's put on the table. And so that's promising. Um, there's a lot, there's a lot. There's a lot of posters. There's a lot of conversations about the DNC, the Democratic National Committee leadership team. There's some people running for those seats. It's a lot of conversations happening. And while some of that is promising, some of it is just like, politics as usual, the fighting, the infighting, all the other stuff that comes with that, and I feel like what we're seeing now is some Democrats are becoming backstabby. And I'm going to talk about one in particular, Lindy Lee. She's been making a lot of noise lately. Lindy Lee was a part of the Democratic Finance Committee for the Harris campaign. She's known as a donor. She's known for raising money for candidates. She's based in Philadelphia. I met her once. It was a decent conversation. She was chill. We met one time, and that was it. That was it. I met her in Rittenhouse. She lives in Rittenhouse, and I met her. And, we talked, and it was a very chill conversation. That was it. That was it. I knew we had some Ivy League ties. She's at Princeton. She's like the alumni president, I believe, of Princeton alumni. She comes from money. And I just remember just her being in the mix a lot. Always in the mix. Always, was in local politics. Always, just around. And now it's interesting because she's been this long Democrat. She was a big supporter of Kamala. She was all this, all that. Hype about Biden. Just a super Democrat through and through. But now she's been on Fox News more times than anyone else. She's been on Piers Morgan Uncensored, and she's been pushing the very anti-Biden, anti-Kamala rhetoric, just talking about, questions about their spending and demanding answers and just really doing all these public call-outs. And she's been very critical of the Democrats, and she's even said things that people consider transphobic. Like she's like, I want to be somewhere where a man is a man, a woman is a woman, and women are playing in sports. And I'm just like, that sounds a little transphobic, because what do you mean a man is a man, a woman is a woman? Like, what are you saying? And then why are you talking about sports against anti-trans language around sports? Like, first of all, let's be very clear about the transgender conversation around sports. There is not that many. It is a very, very low, super low. We're talking like less than 2% population of athletes, of trans people in the population. Okay? And then when we talk about athletes in sports overall, there is not that many transgender athletes. I mean, like lesser to like maybe nearly 35 or something total play in professional sports, if that. I mean, it is not this massive threat to women and to community. Like, it's just none of that. And so for her to pick up that type of rhetoric, it's like, where have you been? Because you've been a Democrat. You've been speaking about the Trump administration being biased and being discriminatory. And now all of a sudden you're over here trying to entertain this idea of maybe you're going to be a conservative or a Republican because Democrats have been saying mean things to you and yada, yada, yada. But there's some people that have called her out and said, listen, this is their take. They said, listen, it's interesting that Lindy Lee is saying all this because when she was at these fundraisers and these events, she would be bum rushing to get to the front row. Like they were saying that she would be, trying to, be front and center, VIP, get the photo op. She always had pictures of Biden and Kamala and everybody. She was just always that active, but she used to use her donor status as her entitlement to be able to party and hang out with the big people and feel important. And so that was part of her whole allure was, oh, she got a lot of money and she feels like, and I feel like in my opinion, she feels like she can buy her way through stuff. She could create a whole media personality because she got money. If she had any money, we would not know who Lindy Lee is. She's just one of those people where, because she's rich, because she, is connected, she feels like she could be whatever she want, because she can afford to. If she was not, if she was doing politics the way she currently do it now, there would be no way for her to have been in the media position to be a correspondent. So she's picking this, but this is what people talk about when they say the difference between black people and people of color. Because it's like all of a sudden you're using all these specific topics and these titles and all this stuff, and you're trying to leverage that to get more visibility opportunities. But the problem is that no one likes a backstabber, no one likes a flip flopper, and so she's got all this mouth about the campaign and this, that, and the third, and she's telling the truth on this. But it's like, how convenient? Because if Harris would have won, all these complaints and issues that you're talking about now would have not happened. You would have been somewhere still in the morning news, still in the media, still trying to feel relevant and just doing that. That's why I tell people you gotta watch your networks. You gotta watch who you surround yourself with, who you trust, who you bring into the fold, because you just never know how people might switch up and change based on the leadership changing. So, bless her heart. Bless her heart. And I mean that sincerely. Bless her heart, as they say in the South. Bless her heart. So, this situation with Luigi, I'm over it. Like, I'm over the attention around this alleged, UnitedHealthcare CEO killer. I feel like at this point, like, look, every argument that has been made about whether or not he did it because he's some hero for a social cause, whatever the case is, I just think we've now delved into that level of stan culture where it's just like, okay, every little thing is being analyzed about him. It's just too much. Like, so, there's that picture that everyone sees him doing the perp walk and he's being carried out. And you got, Eric Adams' ass right behind him, like he about to be law and order, and you got all these police officers, handling him like he's precious cargo. And a lot of people are starting to pick up, especially black folks, are starting to pick up and notice something I already noticed at the very beginning. And now we're getting frustrated with it because you're like, okay, so they're going to make sure not a single hair is touched on this boy. But I'm sitting here and I guess everyone's starting to, I guess some of the excitement is starting to calm down in certain places, because now I'm hearing people be like, so he done did this and they're handling him like he's, everything is done so dramatically. Everybody's making sure he's alive, he's getting shape ups, he's getting all haircuts and everything, which is being analyzed, right? You got people like Torre out here analyzing him, saying, oh, the haircut is a sign that, those in behind bars are trying to protect him, that they're cutting his hair. They're sending a message out to guards, letting them know that, they have his best interest at heart. Like, where do they do that at? And how do we know that? I mean, granted, probably I could see that probably maybe the inmates that may have gave him a shape up and made sure he looked decent. They fixed them eyebrows because, that was, very telling. But it looked like, everybody is rooting for the new hero. And once again, I asked the question, how is this not just the continuation of white privilege? Like, granted, there is the frustration about healthcare in America, all of that. But I don't know. Is he going to be the one? Is this situation going to be the thing that's going to change any of that? And is this just another way that white people, once again, specifically white men, right, get the opportunity to be the hero and the villain or the beloved anti-hero of a story where so many other people have done worse? I think about, they were talking about Rikers. Somebody had mentioned online, oh, if he went to Rikers, that can make people wake up and finally realize, how bad Rikers is. And I'm just sitting here looking like, um, we gonna really forget about, that young black man who had the most traumatic experience of his life. you know um we're gonna forget about that boy, who that young black man who literally was innocent for a crime, got finally released, and then died. He unlifed himself. We're gonna forget about that because that happened. And it's crazy because you know it's one of those situations where Khalif Browder, that's right. Khalif Browder, he was 16 years old. He was picked up for illegally stealing a backpack and was jailed at Rikers Island for 3 years. And he passed away by suicide. And he was held there without a trial. And then he was finally released. And he was trying to put his life back together. He earned a high school equivalency degree at ED. He started community college, but he struggled with life after Rikers. That situation traumatized him. They put him in solitary confinement. He was 16 years old when he first went through all of that. So people want to sit up here. He was 22 years old when he died. People want to sit up here and talk about, that the erasure, the history, the historical erasure for me. Like the consistent, just whitewashing of social justice for me. Now, we don't know if he's going to Rikers. Luigi is, but like, what we're not going to do is not act like what happened to Khalif Browder was not one of the moments and experiences that really woke people up about Rikers. Because my question becomes, how did you know that Rikers had problems? How did you know? And you want to act like him going there is going to be the big, huge revolution? Okay. So I don't know. I just want y'all to wrap this shit up by the end of the year. I mean, granted, he's going to go through a trial. There'll be all the drama with the trial, but all this every hour on the hour obsession of this guy is just like. And let me be very clear, like, it's so interesting how issues and causes it's going to impact. Like, the healthcare system has failed this country, absolutely. But you know who it fails the most? Black and brown people, who still struggle to get access and affordability. The level of discrimination towards Black women when it comes to mortality rates, the level of lack of access to detect diseases for Black queer people. Right, there's so much data that shows it, but yet I continue to say this, and not that it has to be said any further, but if a Black person would have done this would not be the same story, no matter how attractive he was. Like, if he looked like Jason Hurts and committed this crime, this would not be the conversation. It would be Black people asking for him to be released, or asking for justice, or asking for all kind of things. But everybody else would call him a thug and saying that violence is not the answer, and would have been misquoting MLK. So I'm at a certain point where I'm like, okay, first week reactions, But we're on week 3, about to be on week 3 of this shit. It's like at some point, there's a mother with children who are never going to see their father again. And they have to literally watch the country just praise the killer, the alleged killer, So, just the overkill of it all, I think, for me, is just like, it's telling us a lot. Because again, I think about 2020 when we were having these conversations about, Black Lives Matter, and people were, going up in smoke about property being damaged, not lives, because let's be clear, Black Lives Matter protests, those individuals who are out there who were Black, because we ain't gonna talk about Antifa and everybody else, they were not out here killing people. Okay, they were very mindful, very demure. Okay, they didn't kill anyone. They may have damaged property, may have broke a window or something. Some of them, and that wasn't even that many people doing property damage. But I remember how many people were just up in arms about the damage of property, even though these individuals fighting against a damage of human lives. But Luigi, shoot somebody in cold blood, no questions asked. Straight shooter. And everybody is acting like they don't even know really what his real reasons are, his real passions are. But this is being dragged down this way. So it's just insensitivity for me. But 'tis America. So in Philly, the 76ers arena, had their vote. Finally, the final vote, the final day, this past Thursday. As you all may have seen cameras, it was the grand finale, the season finale of City Council Live. We'll be back on when City Council starts Thursday, January 23rd. Yes, that is the week of Trump's inauguration, which you'll be having around MLK Day. And then that Thursday leading into that week will be, City Council Live. City Council will be back in session. So we're dealing with all of that, right? So much to deal with. And they did the vote. The vote was the same from last week when it moved out of committee. There was no changes, nothing. But this time we had the added element of so many people who was speaking on public testimony. And I think for me, what's been frustrating is just hearing the mess, right? So there's been the pitting of Asians against Black people. They keep telling Black people, oh, there's going to be opportunities for us, and we never get opportunities. And it's like, do we really, first of all, we're going to get opportunities off of putting our foot on someone else's neck, and y'all just okay with that? Cool. Okay. Sure. Right. An eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. Bullshit, right? The second part that's been interesting is this obsession with talking about young Black men in particular. Like, there's been a lot of people who have been like, we're going to get them off the streets. We're going to give them jobs. They're going to have opportunities. Okay, let me be very clear. And this is my $1 million question. So if the arena did not happen, what was going to be the plan to give them jobs? Second, do people understand how the building trades work? Like, do people understand how people get trade jobs? There's like apprenticeship programs. There's enrollment programs. There's tests that they have to take. There's all these certifications. There's like so many other things one do. So here's the thing that I think people just assume, that we're in the 1940s and 50s where they just see somebody put a brick and a shovel in your hand and say you're on the team. No, there are several clearances and things that has to be done before someone even qualifies to be able to get in the trades. They have to do training programs and things. First of all, these are risky jobs. These are serious jobs. Like, you have to have a helmet on. You have to make sure you are not afraid of heights. You have to make sure you're able to really, number one, function out there and get the work done in a timely manner. And you got to know what the hell you're doing. So, this isn't like, I don't know. People like to sometimes reduce labor in ways that I think is annoying, where every job that is not a job with a degree means people assume you don't have to think or do anything of substance. But no, a lot of jobs out here, if you want to be a nail technician, you want to be, an esthetician, there's still training and certifications you have to do in order to make that work. And so if you're somebody who doesn't like to read or don't like to do anything that requires focus and instruction, you can't even get those jobs. And so I think when people act like, oh, okay, yes, some people may not want to spend 4 years or maybe 2 years associate reading and writing, but the gag is that the ability to read, interpret, and think to be able to work and get a functioning, well-paying job is something that you have to do regardless. And so everyone just says, I don't know what people are telling people, but in this modern era, you're going to have to read and write some level. Maybe not as rigorous as other jobs, but there is still an expectation for you to do some training. And maybe, academia may not be your interest, of course, but then if you still have to have an interest. And so I'm wondering what is being done to actually invest in Black youth, women and men, young women and men, okay? Because this, I don't know where this, whatever, but okay, what is the investment for those individuals who are, being left behind? Where are the resources to help them and to invest in them? Because that's very telling to me. And so are we going to train kids? Are we going to, be able to mentor them and make sure that they actually know what they're doing? Is there an interest in the trade? So if they're not doing, college, how do we automatically know that the building trades is where they want to go? It's just a lot of questions and assumptions being made and a lot of easy speak that is bullshit. There's all this talk about economic promise and boom. Y'all, it is the 21st century. There's enough research that tells us and shows us that arenas are never the big, huge economic money makers that they are. There are many that actually fail and actually become a burden and a risk. And then there's the other half of this where, like I said before, that it does not serve as the magic bullet that many people project. It's like these are old talking points that research has debunked over and over again. Then you get dumbasses that like to make comparisons that do not fit. So they say, oh, well, Madison Square Garden, I went there and look, they got one. Madison Square Garden was built in the 1960s. There's been 60 years of economic changes and displacement and movement to make it work. Okay, can you give me a new arena that's been recently built, that you go to and you support that's comparable to this conversation? I'll wait. That was successful. We're not going to talk about Barclays? Nobody want to talk about that? No one want to talk about the DC arenas? No? Oh, okay. Because there's a lot of, again, misinformation, miseducation. Just say you got your money. Just say you got your payout. Just say that you got your incentive. Just say that you're looking forward to your free box seats. Just say that's what's happening. So now that it has happened, the votes are happened, okay? The 5 nays, okay, were Jay Young, Jamie Gautier, Rue Landau, Nicholas O'Rourke, and Kendra Brooks. Everybody else voted in favor of it. Even people that you thought was not going to because they were progressives. Everybody else voted for it. Nina Ahmad voted for it. Isaiah Thomas voted for it. They all voted for it. Outside of those 5. Perfect attendance at City Council. And protesters had to be taken out. The police commissioner and the sheriff, Rochelle Bilal, and police commissioner Kevin Bethel had to come out. There were like roughly 3 dozen activists that attached themselves to each other and stayed on the floor in the middle of a session while there was a packed room of people chanting and putting up signs. It was nasty. And sheriff's deputies and police officers had to take and remove these protesters one by one. It was a lot. But this is what happens. We're at that point in the game. We're at that level where people are so fed up. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And they're frustrated. So here's some thoughts I have. I'm just at this point, here's some theories I have. I have some theories, I have some thoughts. I don't think this arena is going to happen. There's something in my gut that tells me that. Unless there's some major changes. And I have some suspicions. So they got the right to build the arena. I don't necessarily know if they're going to actually go through with it. There are some price tags and some questions that still are in the balance. They can't pay for it. I just do not believe that the 76ers is going to pay the whole bill on this like they say. I don't think they're going to. It just does not make sense for one team to have, like one team to do all this and commit to only 150 days out of 365 days in the year. You're going to spend all this money to have one team play in that way. All the other teams got other things, areas. What is the benefit to fill the other half? Now, there has been some speculation that, the WNBA is being thrown into the mix. There's been lots of conversations and there's been lots of teas on the internet, little stuff, Isaiah Thomas, tried to talk about, it'd be nice to have the WNBA, like throwing this out there. Okay. Then there's been, speculation and conversations that, Sherelle Parker, the mayor, has been with Lisa Leslie out and about in recent weeks. So there seems to be some speculation that potentially the WNBA might join forces and sign on and be a part of this. And if that happens, then, okay, you got another franchise forking some of this bill that is also going to be on the table. And then you got a team, you got two teams. You got a women's basketball team playing. And then you also have, of course, the NBA, with the 76ers. So you could have a stadium here in Philadelphia that will have women's basketball and, of course, the men's basketball happening in the arena. That would help. But if the WNBA does not get involved, there's no other team, a league or entity involved in this, and it falls in the 76ers, I doubt they'll do it. Because it's already clear that taxpayers will not be paying for some of this. That's what they're claiming. That taxpayers don't have to worry about this. Yeah, okay. And if that's the case, then the other way to get the money would be from the governor. So Governor Shapiro wants to come through and drop $700 million down on this shit? Not necessarily. There's actually a history throughout politics, not just in Philadelphia, but other places, where there's been a history of situations where arena's been proposed, city council voted for it, the mayor voted for it, but in the end, the teams, it didn't work out. And so there's something in me that says that because of how this deal was done, I'm not 100% sold that this will work out. That's just, but we'll see. I mean, for me, it's like, unless they get the WNBA, because that is what I've been hearing and what's been in the tea leaves. If the WNBA shows up out of the blue next year, y'all, and join forces with this arena, don't be surprised. There's been some signs that points in that direction. And that is why some people have a little bit of like enthusiasm, because I think Isaiah Thomas plays like he's got a basketball constituency, right? Isaiah Thomas is probably trying to, milk it for what it is and be front and center in the middle of that because he likes sports and he wants to be in the little boxes and be with the kids. This is that narrative. This is the other aspect, the other shoe that's not fallen. There's a reason why they did not present that, because that deal has not been signed and there's been no actual confirmation. But I know there's been an interest to woo the WNBA in being involved in this and being a part of that arena to justify it. And I think they think that if the WNBA gets on board with this, that they're going to get more supporters and get more people excited about the arena. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I think that what I think is interesting about this, and I'm not hearing enough about it, but I am going to put this on the table. I personally think basketball arenas is pretty much a counterproductive profiting tool. I think that the nature of sports in the next 10 years in the industry, the way we consume media and content and things, I don't necessarily think this is a smart investment. I'm not saying basketball is dying in 10 years, but the way that people consume sports, like NBA ratings are not that good. They've been on decline. Like people are not watching basketball games on TV the way they used to. I mean, NFL has done 1,000 tricks and tips. I mean, they still hold it down with the views, but the way in which people consume basketball in America has declined. I don't even hear people talk about the basketball games anymore. We are past the LeBron James era. I mean, LeBron is getting up there. That was probably the last era, like that LeBron era, like the days of Michael Jordan, how people used to watch basketball with Kobe. Them days, I mean, it's just become so predictable now. Like, yes, Steph Curry's a great player and people care, but the NBA as a franchise and as a watcher of shows and programming, that's declined. And so I'm thinking to myself, if TV ratings of sports is beginning to reduce drastically, and we're talking about now, in 10 years, are we going to even watch the NBA like we used to? Are we even going to watch it where it's at now? It's on the decline. And furthermore, the level of people buying tickets to go see games. Let's keep it on a beam. The 76ers suck. And the way in which basketball is as a franchise, the NBA is taking that decline. Are people going to be as enthusiastic and hyped to spend that money, invest in that? I just don't know. I don't see it. Now, one can make an argument that women's basketball has been shaping up and growing, but just the whole nature of sports entertainment is just shaky right now. I mean, NFL is doing okay, but there's 1,000 things they got to do. They got to bring out Beyonce. They got to have a Super Bowl. There is none of that. I mean, the NBA Finals is not that type of draw, and it has not been for quite some time. So for them to invest in something like that is going to, I don't know if the return on investment is going to measure out in the way that people think it is. I think it's really risky on so many levels to even let a arena specifically for NBA and for basketball be this way. I mean, not that I'm encouraging this, but they would be better off trying to get a 76ers arena situation happening before this, to be honest. That's my thoughts. I just don't see the value in the same way. But maybe I'm not reading it right. Who knows? But it just seems like this is not a smart investment, in my opinion. So then what comes of city council, right? What's next, right? So this is the motions of building will begin soon, not necessarily in 2025. I think now that the legislation is going through, there's going to be several lawsuits. We can expect lawsuits. There's been complaints from that the ACLUs have to monitor this. There's been violations of people's free speech rights, allegedly. There's all the lawsuits in the backfire that is going to happen. It's going to play out all of 2025. I would assume they're going to start construction maybe around 2026, but they got to watch out about that because, we got all the big games and stuff going on. We got FIFA World Cup. We got the, bicentennial or the centennial or 250th anniversary. We got a lot going on in America, but a lot going on in Philadelphia 2026. So, preparation for that. I mean, there's conversation that there's not enough money to really get people on board to plan and coordinate this. There needs to be more money invested in this. Very interesting times. Just saying. But city council, I think they're going to pay a price for this decision. And I think it's going to happen with their decisions lately. So I don't know if you all know, but Isaiah Thomas seems like he's been in the weeds lately. So ambitious. It's giving Icarus, y'all. He's proposing the motion of this conversation around. He wants to eliminate resign the run for city employees. I'm about to put this on the table. You know where I'm going with this. So right now, city employees, in order for them to run for one seat or other, they must resign from their seat in order to run for another, unless they're incumbent. So if they're incumbent, they don't have to resign to run if they're running for re-election. But if they're running for any other seats or any city employee is doing it, they have to resign from their city job or whatever their current occupation is in order to run for the other job, unless they are an incumbent in a seat. So, for example, Rebecca Reinhardt had to resign as city controller to run for mayor. And of course, she lost, so that means that someone else had the job. City council, members of city council, including Sherelle Parker, had to, several, I think 5 of them, resign from city council to run for mayor. Only one mayor, so the rest of them had to find other jobs to go elsewhere. There is a lot, that's resign to run. And a lot of people say that keeps situations from being corrupt. They keep city council and taxpayers' dollars in ep and keeps fairness. This bill would eliminate that. And it will eliminate that starting after Sherelle's second term. So this would not impact Sherelle Parker. This would impact the next mayor's race coming up. How convenient. Let's keep it 100. I don't, when you make deals and you make back deals, there's no protection here. It's obvious that Isaiah Thomas wants to be the next mayor of Philadelphia after Sherelle Parker. So pretty much he is making a bill that will cover his ass in the event that he does not win that shot for mayor. And that goes for anybody else, right? That goes for anybody else in city council, right? But he's proposing it. So it's obvious that he's literally creating something that's going to benefit him. Because I guess everybody is too scared or too cowardly to stand on principle and to just resign, right? Because they want to hold on to their little pensions. They want to hold on to everything else. And they want to double dip. And as a Philadelphia taxpayer, absolutely the fuck not. I'm telling you right now, I do not support the elimination of resign to run. And here's the reason why I don't support that. Because what's so fucked up about this legislation that he's presenting, I don't see anything about term limits. So, to me, the reason why the resign to run thing never worked is because there is a back and forth around it, right? There's been conversations that there needs to be term limits in city council. You're telling me there's no term limits, okay? No term limits at city council as of right now. People can run for 20 years in city council. Or you could be like, Brian O'Neill or whatever and be in city council for 40 years. No term limits for city council. But there is resign to run if you want to run for mayor. I'm sorry, but who benefits off of this? Elected officials who can't even negotiate a deal with an arena that will benefit the people. But I want to give you, this level of immunity where you do not have to resign to run. You can stay as a city council member, run for mayor, do not have to quit while being the mayor of the city, while being a city council person. We don't see the possible conflict of interest in that. We don't see the possible conflict of interests. We don't see the possible, No. Not happening over here. If Isaiah would have, in his legislation, included term limits, I could see the argument being made here. But see, the problem with them is they keep making these arguments about state reps, saying that state reps don't have to resign to run in order to run for their seats or whatever. Here's the difference between state reps, though. State reps have 2-year terms, okay? That ain't enough time. That's a lot. I mean, first of all, there's got to be an incentive for a person to run every 2 years. That's a lot of campaigns, a lot of elections. Like the fact that state rep and even Congress, right? You got to run every fucking 2 years. That's exhausting. And let's be clear, state reps make less money than city council members. So they should be able to have the ability to run. But guess what? There's more accountability for them as well. Because here's the thing, you run it every 2 years, there's always a way you could get your ass voted out. And let's be real, there's more turnaround around state reps than there is city council. I see there's new state reps that pop up every other cycle than city council members every 4 years. So democracy is working in action over there with those people. They don't really get the benefit at all. And guess what? Many of them do run for other seats, right? That is not related to their own seats. And yes, they double dip, right? They get to run for other stuff. We see this happen with Malcolm Kenyatta, right? But here's the thing. A lot of them are not successful in that decision. And at the end of the day, they're running in a seat that has an occupation every 2 years. Now, if it was 4 years, right? And I know there's some state senators that do benefit from that, but not in mass. So it's like apples to oranges to me if you compare what state reps get to do versus city employees and everybody else. At the end of the day, if you, to be honest, if you eliminate resign to run, it will be a much annoying, exhausting experience. You will have more people running for mayor just because they have the luxury to without the risk. I like the fact that you have to resign to run. It's actually more democracy. Because here's the thing, if we did not have resign to run, we probably would not have the new city council we have. We would not have had Jay Young. We would have not had, Jay Young we would have had because the council president was resigning. But we would have not had the likes of Anthony Phillips. We would not have had Anthony Phillips. We would have not had, I'm just thinking about something. We would not have had Nina Ahmad. We would have not had Jim Harity. We would have not had Nicholas O'Rourke. That's not for certain. We would have not had Nicholas O'Rourke. Like, I think about all the folks, David O, Helen Gim, Maria, right? Ketsi Lozada. We would have had Ketsi Lozada. Some people like them. Some people don't. Some people argue, what's the difference? I get it. But we would have not had certain members of city council if we would have eliminated resign to run. Because a lot of them would have stayed in their seats. And so we would have been stuck with so what we run the risk of is having a city council that we can't stand, that we cannot vote out. And after this damn arena situation, I don't think any of us want to keep this city council. I think there are some of these people need to be voted out. And we're not going to wait for 4 years or whatever. We're going to listen. Some of these people need to get voted out. So I don't think the people should lose their right to resign and run. I think that's democracy in action. I think if you want to see so bad, you better put some skin in the game. Because this is not just a little state rep running for auditor general. You're trying to run for mayor. And if that's what you're trying to do, that's the only reason why you would give a fuck. So this is a very stupid piece of legislation that's really self-serving for city council. And they're not even trying to check themselves because where are the term limits? Because if you're going to tell me that you can resign to run, you got to pass some term limits. So what? Do city council get only 4 terms? That's 16 years. That's a lot of time. To be quite honest, I believe that city council members should have a 3-year term. Not 3 years, a 3-term limit. So in other words, you get 12 years. The mayor gets 8 years. You should get 12 years. I think they should get at least 3 full terms. Then after that, you got to bounce. But unlimited power with 4 years like that, that's a dictatorship. The president of the United States gets that. Senators, Congress people, they don't have term limits. But we're starting to see the problems with that over there in Congress, where you got people that's in nursing homes. True story, Republican, whole time people didn't know where this person was at. They was in a nursing home for several months. And they in their 70s. And no one even knew where they was at and knew what was going on with them. And they haven't been able to take an actual goddamn vote while staying elected. What the hell are we doing in Congress? Congress folks these people are like in their, a lot of them are in their 70s. But we need to put some term limits up. I think there needs to be term limits. I think term limits is the answer regardless of whether or not we have resign to run, to be honest. But you can't kill resign to run and not put term limits in. Sorry, don't make sense for me. And I'm going to let it be known. Because they're going to bring it up, y'all. And that's going to be the next fight. And let me tell y'all, if it gets voted through by city council or the mayor supports it or whatever, here's the other catch that people are not thinking about. We, the people, have to change the charters and vote for that. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So we're missing a very crucial point that no one's paying attention to with that detail, is that there is some issues, Mm. So, yeah. We got so much we need to consider. Mm. Term limits, y'all. Term limits need to happen. Because I'm just reflecting on this right now, and I'm just like, who thought that was a good idea? But they're trying to get in. Pay very attention to city council when it gets started. Pay very attention. And when you see the upward trajectory and the changes that are made, pay very close attention to who's supporting that, because they're trying to cover their asses, y'all, before these changes happen. They're trying to cover their asses. I see between the tea leaves. I see the work. I see it. I see what's coming down the pipeline. I do. So, you know. Mm, 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 mm. So, this week's Ask Ernest, you all wanted to ask me questions about etiquette for the holidays. I don't know. There was a lot of questions about, and I wouldn't say the thing was etiquette per se, but people were asking questions around, like random questions of like, if I go here, can I do this? If I do this, when is the right time to do this? Like there were just these like random questions people was asking me. And I had about 4 people, DM me about something along those lines. So there were several questions. I'm going to answer them in rapid speed because I don't want to be too long on one area or not. But I'm going to give you the 4. Somebody asked me around, I guess, recycling gifts. Like, is that a thing? Is it tacky? Is it not tacky? Blah, 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 blah. I will tell you this. I have recycled gifts. I have. What I will tell you though about recycling gifts, most of the gifts I've recycled have not been, I will say, actual like concrete gifts. They've been gifts where I had an excessive amount of something. So for example, I have a lot of blue coat, more blue coat than the average man has, to the point that you would think that I was a gin alcoholic. So sometimes, if I have so many bottles, I might go to a housewarming party and we'll have a bottle of Blue Coat if I know the person likes gin. Or I will, go to a holiday party and I know another person likes Blue Coat or something, and I will gift them one of the bottles. Okay? The key is you do not give it in the same circles. In my opinion, do not regift in the same circles. So if you got certain friend circles and certain groups, so for example, I will say, like, as being an alpha, there have been people that have given me alpha swagging gifts, and some of that stuff I already have or isn't necessarily my taste, but I will regift it to a fraternity brother, a frat brother. So, but they don't know that I've given it. So I will regift. I have regift a lot of my fraternity gear and swag, some stuff that people have given me that was either too big or just not my style and my taste. And I have given it out and have given out to other fraternity brothers for their birthdays and things. So there is a space where that could work, but not if it was custom. So there, what I mean by this is that these gifts were not custom gifts, like they were customized. So I think you don't want to give out, you don't want to regift customized things. Don't let it be something super, super unique. It's got to be something basic. Like I remember someone gave me one time, they gave me a aerator. I have too many aerators to count. I re-gifted the aerator to actually my brother, my younger brother, because he loves red wine. He's taken after his big brother. And so I noticed he never had an aerator. And I was like, you should have one. And so I actually gifted him an aerator. But somebody had gifted me one. And so I didn't need another one. So I gifted it to him. But like that is okay. That wasn't a customized gift. That wasn't anything personalized or whatever. And it wasn't something that was just so like, massive. Like these are things that can be rebought and repurchased or whatnot. So I will say that. The next question someone asked me was bringing up politics during the holidays. Like they hear people say they don't do it, but what do black people do? Whatever people do. I would say it just varies in the household. If I think that's such a, I don't want to say that's a very white thing, the whole not talking about politics, because as black people, as marginalized people, we can't really escape politics. Like racism impacts our daily lives in a way that we really can't not. It's like asking and telling the queer person, don't talk about, homophobia, or issues, discrimination during the holiday. It's like, it's really hard for us not to, because this stuff impacts our lives even when it's not impacting our lives. Like being in Texas, right? I mean, shit, in Pennsylvania, no matter where I go. But of course, because I hear because I really don't want to bring this up, because I know a lot of you East Coast is going to act like, see, how is that? Be safe out there in Texas. Shut the fuck up. I can't be safe anywhere in this damn country. I'm looking at Philly funny. Hell, Pennsylvania's a red state again, child. So shut up with that. I really don't, the East Coast snobbery of it all, that needs to go away. Because look at these states. Look at Michigan. Look at Pennsylvania. Look at these. Look at New York. New York, there's an increase of Trump support. Like, all these cities are trash. I don't want to hear all of this East Coast regionalism when it comes to this shit. Okay, I've experienced immense racism. I've experienced some crazy extreme racism on the East Coast, more than I've actually experienced. Last time I checked, the anti-blackness was in the room when somebody decided to drop a bomb on a black city. It was not Houston. It was not, San Antonio. It was not Jasper, Texas. It was who? Philadelphia. So miss me with that. This is a city that literally have people out here pitting Asians and black Americans against each other to push an arena. But y'all trying to act like racism is only happening in Texas. Miss me with that. So, of course, coming to Texas, I did see there are some Trump signs, not in my neighborhood, but bumper stickers on cars and stuff like that. Okay. And of course, by nature of being a black person, we're going to talk about it. We're going to have a conversation about it. We just can't help it. So I just would say that, I don't know, the talking about politics thing during the holidays, I just feel like you may not be the one to bring it up, but if you at your auntie's house, your grandma's house, or some elder's house, and they start talking about it, child, dig in. It needs to be a conversation, okay? Because there's not too many of us that got these polarizing households where half the family may have voted for Trump, half the family didn't, and listen, I'm not going to any Trump supporter's house. So if I got a family member that's a Trump supporter, we're going to draw the line there. I'm not going. If you decide to be the one family member that's in the house that believe in it, but you know what I would say, and again, this is just a black experience for me at least, is that what I've noticed in different families and friends that I have, like, first of all, everybody in my house did not know, nobody in my family, in my immediate family voted for Trump. So I don't know where to start with that. But what I will say is that you might have that family member who did not vote. That might have been the case. They did not vote. And they probably do buy into some of the rhetoric and the online shit, but they didn't vote. So they might be the one to entertain some of the nonsense, and you just have to tell them, bless your heart, and keep it moving. That's what we tell them. Oh, bless your heart, child. It don't even matter because you didn't even vote. Right? Now, you might have people like that. But as far as like this idea that, oh, there's going to be that is a very white person problem. Maybe some Latinos, maybe some Latinos in Florida or Miami where some of them, may have supported Trump or whatever, had different thoughts. But as a black American, I'm telling you, I don't see, we're going to talk about politics. It's going to come up probably at some point. We're going to either see something on the news, something's going to come up on our laptop, we're going to see some shit, and then somebody's going to say something and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening. It's like, I know, it's crazy, huh? And we're going to talk about it. So I don't know. For me, the holidays is like whatever. I just feel like politics, it depends on your household. If you feel like you're scared to go to a household to talk about politics, you're going to the wrong house for holidays. You might need to just go ahead and just host it at your place or get a caterer or something. Because I don't know. I've never had that fear. Maybe I'm blessed in that regard. I can't even say I'm privileged because if we had it our way, we wouldn't even be having this person in office. But it is what it is. My third one question was that people asked me was around cooking for the holidays, like how to deal with people who can't cook in the house and family. Listen, if you don't like it, don't eat it. And at this point, we should have these conversations, be more proactive. But also, what I will say about holiday cooking and all this stuff about people who can't cook, yada, yada, yada. At some point as adults, like all of my millennials specifically, if you're a Gen Zer, not too many Gen Zers listen to my podcast, not that I'm aware of, but mostly millennials and Gen Xers listen. That's the core demographic. I will say, for me, it's okay to tell people that they can sit this one out. It's not saying that they can't cook, but don't let their food be the main dish. So if somebody decides that they want to make a pie or make a side dish that no one asks for, they can bring it. But let's make sure that all your basics are covered. That the person that you want to cook the dressing or the stuffing, because, you know, cook the ham, the turkey, whatever, whoever is cooking the main food, let them cook the main food. Like, let's just do that. Let's just all do that. Let's keep that on the beam. And then the last question that comes up is how to deal with family members that make remarks about body, making some comments, put pressure on family around marriage and pressure around giving children or whatever. Okay. So I will say I definitely have I can relate to some of this type of stuff. Not everything. Okay. No one's asking if Mr. Johnson are gonna have kids. I think well, you know what's fun? Well, I'll take that back. I have had situations where during the holidays, it's not my immediate family, but you know how you have family, guests, cousins, spouses of people, and all that kind of shit, where in the very beginning, and we have evolved as a society where people do the whole who's the girl, who's the boy. We ain't doing all that. People have gotten more respectful because I'm a little grown. I think people, I wrote the book, The Case for Cancel Culture, and my mom literally has that book in the house sitting up. She got the first edition. She got it's sitting there. The person who wrote that book is in this house. So if you were smart, you just don't even want to just be mindful. Be mindful. So I feel like there's some people that naturally just won't even fuss start with me because I've wrote a book on cancel culture and they're scared about canceling. But I've noticed that has changed. That has changed. But in the very beginning, there was the who's the boy, who's the girl conversation. And you always have to be like, nobody. Just, I know it's hard for you to see two gender. I mean, at this point, stop it. So that has calmed down. But I do remember there was those awkward conversations. I will say my weight was a point of contention of some time. Like, you all have seen me. I've had the Oprah body where my weight, it was going up and down. I'm in the phase where it's going down. Me and Oprah are slimming at the same time. Not for the same reasons, but to each their own. But we are. But there was a time where, clearly through over the years, I mean, people know me. I was gaining weight and people was making remarks. And I did not appreciate it. In the very beginning, I just would ignore it. But there would be situations where people coming to me and say, and this is that family dynamics. Oh, you putting on some weight, you gotta make sure you slim down. Pinching on my love handles, as they would call it. Pinching on parts of my body. Making remarks about, slow down, that, you should, measure my food. Talking about you on your second plate already. I see you putting on that weight. It's just like, you should not do that. Right. But how you do is like, you may have to set boundaries or let a person, a friend or somebody, or be there for somebody else. So if you see somebody else that happening to someone else, you step up and you be the ally in that situation and check a person and tell a person, hey, that's too much. Because it might be harder for someone themselves to be the boundary, but you be that for someone else. So if you're the person that no one, people ain't saying nothing about your body, whatever, but you see somebody doing that to a kid, I've noticed it with kids. Lately, I've seen people do it to kids. They do it to adults too. I know that, I ain't saying they do, but I've noticed with kids, people have done it with kids. And I'm just like, hey, that's too much. Or leave them alone. And sometimes it takes another adult or someone to say, hey, leave him alone. Let's stop that. Cut that out. That's not okay. Sometimes when you see another person reinforce, that does slow that down. Because the truth of the matter is that anytime people do this whole, ask and they talk about their concern, they're not, they're body shaming. They're uncomfortable. There is fat phobia in society. People are uncomfortable of seeing people who are overweight. And rather than them talking about some worried about people, they don't give a fuck. Because we have seen plus size people and people do different body shapes and scales forever. And at the end of the day, it's their body. What they choose to do, what they do, you're not concerned. What you're trying to do is that it's uncomfortable for you. For whatever reason, your fat phobia has you looking at a person and you're uncomfortable. So you feel like you want to say something to try to micromanage someone else's body. Fuck off and fuck out of here with that. And I think that is annoying. Other concerns that people have brought up is like the whole friendship with the people asking, when y'all gonna get married, when y'all gonna get settled down. Look, I will say, I haven't experienced that pressure. No one was just racing to see a gay person get married to another man. But I mean, not that there's homophobia. I haven't experienced that pressure. No one was like looking at, when y'all gonna get married? When y'all gonna get married? Not in my circles. I mean, not that they weren't okay that we were married, but it was just more like nobody was putting that clock on me. But I feel like people do it to, cis het relationships where with men and women, because there's these questions about kids and all this other shit. I will just say this. I don't. there's two ways to go about this. When it comes to the marriage situation and those kind of questions, you and your person that you're with, y'all need to have an understanding with each other about that. I feel like when you come into the conversations, you all need to be prepared about that. I feel like the conversations need to be happening between you and your loved one before you walk into these spaces. Because people are gonna ask. If you've been with somebody for 4 or 5 years and there's no engagement or something, y'all gotta have a plan on how y'all feel about that as a unit and be like, okay, we're about to go down here. People gonna start looking at us and asking these questions. What we gonna say? What's our reason for this? And we say what we say and we move on, right? And you keep it moving. But I think why it becomes uncomfortable is if the couple are not settled on it. So maybe the guy wants it or the girl wants it, whomever in those situations. I'm talking cis het because the gays, we don't be having these problems. No one's looking at us like, when y'all gonna get married? We can't wait for a gay wedding. Not that they're not, let me clarify. It's not that there are, but I can't tell you how many times over the years when I think about when I've gone to gatherings, either not necessarily my family, but even in Mr. Johnson's family, but either our family situations where people will keep calling you the friend until you have to say what you can't say boyfriend. And then once you get married, then they acknowledge it. Then once you get married, because that's it. But you will be the friend until otherwise. Oh, this is so and so and his friend. Now they didn't do this on my side. I'm not talking about my family. This was more on the other side. But they'll do the whole friend thing. It's like friend. Baby, I'm the boyfriend. But they just say friend, and friend has its own connotation, right? And we see this happen too in situations with straight people. I do think sometimes the girl gets called the friend of so-and-so because they will not identify you until you are engaged. And then you the fiance or something, then it gets a little bit, it gives a little bit more elevation. But again, these are other people's societal norms. You just got to make sure you understand with the person you're with what understanding y'all have. Because I feel like it's only a problem if both parties if both sides in that relationship is not clear on what they're trying to do. Now, moving on to this baby situation. We don't get the pressure around having a kid in ways that straight people do, but one thing that always happens, and this is the number one thing that happens, and some of y'all listen to this podcast are guilty of it. I'm not mad at it at all. But the moment y'all see that we're gay and y'all see that we're married, the next thing y'all do ask is, so do y'all want to have kids? It's not telling us when y'all gonna have kids. Y'all ask if we want to have kids because y'all just curious about that idea. Like, is that something y'all want to even do? Listen, I don't want to say I'm privileged, but I'm like, I'm happy that people are asking if it's something that we want to do rather than assume. Straight people, y'all don't have that because people just assume man, woman, penis, vagina, birth. Why else would you get married? Clearly, y'all gonna have kids. And it makes me think, now this is just random. But I thought about how back in the day, how homophobia used to be, where the corniest punchline used to be, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Do y'all remember that? Like when people used to do the whole Adam and Eve, Adam and Steve. I'm like, that's the corniest reference. But the funny part about it is that, again, people expect straight people to have babies. If you're married, they expect you to. So the question becomes, well, when am I going to see a grandchild? Nobody's asking me. I kind of say one thing about it is I like it because we don't plan on having children. I mean, that's not a conversation. As of right now, there's no interest in children. That's just as simple. We're like, we too busy to have kids. That's what I say. That's my answer. We both are on the same page on that. We both, you ask Mr. Johnson, you say, when there's going to be some kids? Child, let me tell you something. I know y'all like us and y'all think we'd be great parents and all that cute. That's cute, but let me tell you something right now. I am selfish right now. I'm invested in my career. How I'm going to raise a kid and give y'all this podcast. How I'm going to save the world and and be an adjunct professor and be a fellow and write my second book and do all the things that y'all want me to do and I want to do too. Let me be clear. I want to do it too. How am I supposed to do all that and be able to be responsible for a baby and make sure they in Pampers and Tyler? How do I play? How do I do that? How does Mr. Johnson be able to have the bartending business, but also be a city council and do communications and do all that work? How do we make that work? Oh, okay. Because to be honest, I take raising children seriously. Okay. I think about how much I needed, how much attention, how much resources I needed to be successful. I just don't think I'm in a space in my head where I can fathom doing that. That could change when I get older. Maybe stuff begins to calm down. Maybe, but honestly, I don't mind being a godfather. I don't mind being a gay uncle. I don't mind. I really don't. Give me your kids for a couple of days. Let me just have the joy of doing it for a little bit. And then you know what? Then I'm off. I remember there was a friend of mine that had a dog, and they used to live in Old City. And I used to go, and I never had an interest in being a pet. Like we do not have any pets. We don't have a cat. We don't have a dog. So y'all can tell. Listen, I have no interest in raising anything but my income. I'm sorry. My income and my standards, those are the only things I'm interested in raising right now. I have no other interest in raising children, raising pets, raising cats, raising dogs. I have no interest, y'all. Okay? Adulting in me, listen, I know I make it look like it's happening, but I'm adulting and I'm just, I'm just trying to adjust. I'm barely in the damn house. I'm out in the restaurants. I'm out with the Lit Brothers. Like, I'm telling y'all, I have no, listen, listen, I love children. But I love children so much to know that I'm not ready to raise a child myself. That's how much I love children. So when y'all be out here telling people, "Oh, you selfish, you selfish," let me listen. Don't get me started. Some of y'all out here are not even having children by choice. Some of y'all didn't even want to have children. Some of y'all be having children by accident. I am fortunate enough to have birth control in my marriage. There's clearly a situation in which prevents me from us from being parents. And I think that's responsible. Okay. I think it's responsible to really consider what that means, to be able to dictate and choose when you want to have a child and when you're ready, and to be in a relationship with somebody where both of you all are responsible adults to have that conversation and figure it out. There are some adults that are responsible. They think about it. They want to have children. And it's so unfortunate the ones who really do want to have children or are prepared to can't have children in the ways in which they would like to, when there's so many people out here that just dropping seeds out here like Nick Cannon and all that. It's just, that frustrates me about those conversations. But what I will tell my cishet folks that normally get this pressure about kids, if you listen, you tell people to mind their own. And if it's financial reasons or whatever reasons, you tell them, I want to see, they be doing all that. I want to see a grandkid. I want to see a kid. And when you're going to have one, you tell them, you come up with the best winners. I got some for you to give out. When you all going to have kids? When this economy gets better? When I'm going to have kids? When I feel like it? You could also say that. Okay? Well, I just want to see you. I want to see some little kids run around. And I want to see you step up and put some money on it then. Who gonna go half on a baby with me and my husband, my boo? See, that's how you get them. You can shut this shit down real quick. Anybody asking you, or the single folks, when you gonna get you a man? When you find me a good one, find me one. Listen, I never had that pressure either. No, well, listen, when I was young, they was asking me when I was gonna have a girlfriend. I said, when I feel like it. I said, I'm not ready. But some of my single people that go out for the holidays and people say, why you ain't with somebody? You ain't seen these streets? Listen. Or you be like, look, I'm looking for a relationship, not the type of relationship you in. I want somebody that's going to be faithful to me. You better throw them shots. Because y'all know them. Listen, I be throwing the shots from my cousin. Be like, don't do her. Don't do sis. She not trying to have the type of marriage you have. See, I will come and do the clap back. I will protect I will be my brothers, my sisters keep. I will come in and save my friends. When people be doing that, I have clapped back on behalf of some of my friends that had some awkward situations. I had a situation one time with my friend had like a little, one of my homegirls it was like a housewarming situation, kind of like it was giving family reunion vibes. And this all of a sudden they said, "Why are you not with nobody yet?" I said, "Because have you seen the trash out here? Well, there's got to be somebody." I said, "Well, find that somebody, and then maybe she'll consider." I answered for her because I was like, "Y'all not gonna bother her. Leave her alone. She out here." Out here saving the world, being a good attorney, out here making a difference. And the one question you asking this woman who's achieved all this great shit, when's she gonna get a man? That's the goal. That's the achievement? Shit, I get it. The streets are hard out here for single women. I get it. I listen, the pickings are slim. Because even the ones y'all think are good men are bad men behind closed. Let me see, let me not be so. I'm just saying. It's hard out here. I got a couple. Now listen, if you're single, you're a single lady and you looking for a man. Now, I do have some single fraternity brothers that are in my fraternity that are decent men. Okay. Now, if you're okay with a man who done had a divorce, because not everybody can stay. Now everybody can stay. Listen, when you in that 40 range, see, here I'm in some other territory. Look at me being messy. I will just say this. Sometimes I feel like, and I'm talking about myself, let me get the straights, let me get the straights together. Sometimes, okay, with women specifically, I've been out here being matchmaker with some of my fraternity brothers, trying to get them out. Some of them are some decent men. Good, decent men, good looking men, steady jobs, steady incomes, got degrees, can read, can write. Sometimes you gotta know, can people read and write? Because some people can't read and write nowadays. I promise you, he'll send you text messages with full sentences, ladies. But there have been some women I've talked to and encountered that said, oh, was he married? Has he been married? Let me tell you something. Most decent men in their 40s, if they out here trying to date and they in their 40s and they about to get they in their mid 40s, most of them men have been married. Okay? I just want you to know that. I personally think, and I'm not gonna pass judgment, but I think that how do I say this without, I'm not trying to throw shade, but I'm thinking about straight men in general. If you're an attractive straight man that has a good job, has not experienced mass incarceration, has not experienced any traumatic episodes that will put you in a position where you cannot be taken. If you are in your mid 40s and you are straight, now gay is different because we know gay marriages that's just opened up just to about, it'll be 10 years. That's a complicated situation. But if you are a straight, able-bodied, gainfully employed, educated, attractive man, and I really want to say black men, but white men, it's applied to them too. And you in your mid-40s, you never been married. Why? That would raise more questions to me than anything else. Cause it just makes me think. So you ain't been married, you ain't been, well, maybe even engaged. You ain't been engaged, you ain't been married. Why? What's going on? You have issues with commitment. You mean tell me you look good, everything right up there, and ain't nobody been worthy enough to get you to commit to some type of situation? Poppycock. I think it's a red flag, in my opinion. Not always, but I'm just saying. Now, people I know who are in that case that have had it, most of the men I know that are in their 40s or whatever, they either married now, been married, they got kids, they done had situations. Now, I'll say if you ain't married but got kids, but if you ain't got no kids, you ain't got nothing going on, and I still believe you're straight, I'm not doing that, we're not doing that, but you have no kids, you gainfully, what's going on? Who hurt you? What's the issue there? There's a story, there's gotta be a reason. Because you should be snatched off. Listen, listen, there was a point in time where I thought, I was like, man, I don't know if I will get married. I would love to get married. I was like, would like to get married, but I don't know. Baby, I got snatched up by 30. Listen, if you look good and listen, everybody I know, listen, you in some situations, baby. Listen, listen, Mr. Johnson clearly got snatched up before he was 32. Listen, I'm saying you gonna get snatched up out here if you decent. Now, I'm gay, so we're a little different. But if I was a straight man, and again, I'm looking, ain't nobody out here, you ain't trying to do what you doing. You must be a cat daddy. You must be a Mac daddy. So, might be an interesting conversation. But leave single people alone. If you think somebody's gay or you think that they are, how about you figure out, stop making them uncomfortable. Making them uncomfortable is not going to make them be comfortable to come out. If there's that person in your family that brings that friend or whatever the situation is, leave them the fuck alone. Because part of the reason why they don't want to come out is because of the fact that look how you're treating them. Look what kind of environment. Like is that the evasive way does not actually make a person comfortable to want to share intimate details. Maybe create an environment where a person can just be who they are would actually probably get more results. Ever thought about that? So as you enter this holiday season, as you begin to get into the Christmas spirit or Kwanzaa, whatever, and y'all start to have these interactions, hopefully I am saving somebody's life right now. Hopefully I am telling you something before you open your mouth and say something stupid in these next couple of days. Or maybe you need to hear this episode so that you can be able to clap back at people that might be a little bit too evasive. This is the time. I'm just saying. This is the time to consider. So that's my Ask Ernest for this week. I'm just putting it out there. Now, movies. What's going on in Hollywood? So I did see the 688, so you don't have to see it, even though a lot of you all be watching it with your families during the holidays. I know black households cannot do without having one Tyler Perry movie play during the holidays. Tyler Perry just always going to give us some type of movie during the holidays, for better or for worse. This film, it's got Kerry Washington. It's about women, black women in the services during World War II. It's about male, actually. They're not actually in combat. The catch there. This is about women that were male women during the war and how important that role and that job was during the World War II. I wanted to like this movie. But then I realized it's Tyler Perry and it's just not going to happen. Okay, so let me just start by saying that at this point, okay, this is not the worst Tyler Perry movie ever. Let me start by saying that it's not. This is a cleaner film because of the fact that it is a historical film. He wants to provide context. Um, this is not a salacious film. This isn't a. This is more of a historical film. He's trying to show his range. He fails. Um, it's just not. It's just not it. It is an interesting movie where you could watch it and be like, "Oh wow, thank goodness a film like this got made." I guess for the sake of this history, I didn't know about this story, but the story isn't. Well, it's just not a very. The acting is not really that good. Um, the story is a little cliche. There's elements of it that just don't stick, but it's great. I would say it's great a background movie where if you in the kitchen the night before you wrapping presents, because this is a tradition I do Christmas Eve, wrapping gifts and stuff, and you want to put some movies on through to help through the hours of wrapping gifts. It's a good movie to throw on that you got other stuff going on. It's a good put in the background film if that's what you want to do. I mean, thank God it's on Netflix because I wouldn't buy a movie ticket to go see it per se. It gives that like lifetime made for TV movie energy, even though it's clear he has a budget, but it just still feels like a Hallmark movie, like some lifetime movie that's like, it just doesn't, it's just, I know he's trying to go for Oscar bait, but it just isn't hitting. I don't see it going in that direction, in my opinion. So that's my theory. Um, you know, so you know that that's something for me. Um, just putting it out there. So it's not the worst film he's ever made. I mean, clearly he just had a worse film that happened a couple of months ago with that Megan Good film on Amazon Prime. And then he also had the other one that I think Amanda was watching with Joe that I watched. It was oh my goodness, that movie was also trash. It was also just random and weird. Um, and it's so forgettable. May Cooper, I think it's called. Yeah, May Cooper. Yeah, it just wasn't hitting the way that I think people thought it was. Um, but here we are. Um, so this case that everyone's talking about, Blake Lively is suing Justin Baldoni. You remember it ends with us. It starts with us. That film, that controversial film. There was a lot of buzz and controversy around this whole story. Um, they had some issues on set. There was a lot of people didn't like Blake Lively. I don't like Blake Lively. I mean, her and Ryan Reynolds has just played out to me, honestly. The plantation wedding, her toned off remarks, her bad interviews. To be honest, I just don't care for her in general. And it was not anything that happened with this movie. Just she's just not my cup of tea. And I just find them cringy. I just find her just not that talented. But that was how I felt before all this. I'm bringing this up for a reason. So she is suing Justin Baldoni, who was her co-star in the film. He's also the director, alleging sexual harassment and a coordinated smear campaign against her. Um, Details about the sexual harassment, some of the stuff that was said, specific demands that she requested on set. Um, Her crew, her team, a lot of actors unfollowed him during this period. So there is some red flags. I will say on the sexual harassment and concerns, I think that there might be something there. In my opinion, I just think that she clearly has a case against him on that regard, and I don't think there's a reason to not believe that something went down the way that some issues were happening. But the court will, she will have her day in court. But there has been documents. She did during the time in which she was on set requested that he would not talk about him having a pornography addiction, not mention her body. There were just a lot of complaints that she listed throughout the production and issue. So I do believe that she definitely had an unpleasant experience. And there are her co-stars, her other castmates have unfollowed him as well. So there's some smoke there. This is a situation where I do think there's something there, right? But other things that have stood out to me, and this is something that I want to be clear about, and I think people ignore it. But yeah, people need to be real about that. This smear campaign aspect. I think and again, so I think she has a case with the sexual harassment. There's these receipts that there were some notes about emails or some text messages that proven that there was an attempt to smear her in the press and all this jazz. Here's what I think about some of this. As somebody who's a journalist, okay, nobody pitched me about anything negative about Blake Lively. A lot of people just don't like her. And that was before this. And her press tour remarks and things she said during the press tour were her own doing. And even things she did before then. Like Blake Lively had been annoying to people before this whole press tour for this movie. So there's a part of me that feels like, yes, you were a victim. You could be a potential victim of some workplace harassment, and that's fucked up. And I want her to get justice. Very clear on that. I want to make that very known. But I do think that in some situations, she is a little tone deaf. Not with this case, but just in general. Like, she's always seemed to be a little bit like not reading the room and some of the things she talks about and what she do. That there's a part of me that feels like that she wants to truly believe that everything that happened to her in this situation is why the public has turned their backs or not been feeling her. Yeah, no. I just really think that's going to be a hard case to make because there were legitimate critiques about her during the press run that had nothing to do. And what's interesting to me now is like, you talked in the film about, the film is about domestic violence and harassment and all this. You really could have leaned into some of that if you wanted to throughout the press tour. But to do the press tour and kind of talk about your products and stuff, it just is like, I don't know. That was your own doing. That's not necessarily a smear campaign towards you. Like, I think there are people like that just act like, and I feel like people got to be very mindful when they go that direction because bloggers, yes. Okay. There were, when it came to not her, but when I think about Meg Thee Stallion, and Tory Lanez, there was a coordinated smear campaign, but that was done by very unethical bloggers and tabloid folk that played into that, right? I would say most mature journalism and media outlets definitely were giving Megan Thee Stallion fair coverage and was really giving her grace. And we knew that, we believed her. I was a journalist that did not get caught up in that. And actually, you know how I know is because there were actual journalists that was writing about the smear campaign towards her. But in this situation with Blake Lively, I'm just not seeing. I mean, there might have been some people maybe, but she's going to have to also recognize her own flaws when it comes to that. Not the sexual harassment stuff. Not going there. What happened to her, what she's alleging, like there's some issues and she laid her demands, she did everything in that regard. But I just do think it might be a step a little bit to try to act like a lot of the bad press she got was coordinated by him. I just think that she just isn't necessarily a person that people like. And two things can be true. You could be unlikable, but you can also be a victim. And so I will not say that her unlikability justified what happened to her, because that is not the case. No woman, regardless of whether they're likable or not, deserves to be sexually harassed, deserves to be in a toxic workplace environment. Let's be very clear about that. So I want to, before y'all not going to put words in my mouth. But at the same time, right, that being said on that front, there's also, Blake Lively needs to also come to terms with the fact that outside of the mistreatment that she faced with Justin Baldini potentially on this set that's being alleged, what she cannot do is then try to act like every other thing that's happened to her has been a misjustice, miscarriage, misunderstanding. No, there was no smear campaign in the fact that you decided to have your wedding on a plantation in the 2000s and thought that shit was cute. Like, let's just be clear. That was a decision that your ass made. No one said to you and Ryan Reynolds' ass that was okay. No one told you to be mean to interviewers, okay? Just saying. Okay, you was mean to the press before this even movie happened. You was out here being snippy and snappy to people. Listen, as somebody who has covered Hollywood and know insiders, Blake Lively has been a problem for a minute. And let me be very clear. See, this is the part where we got to have them conversations. Because we always want to talk about Sexy Red and all these black entertainers. Is Blake Lively, like, I'm just still trying to figure out, like, her, like, okay. This is called being white and failing upward. Blake Lively, and I think I said this, is like, she's like one of those actresses where we talk about certain black actresses and we say, oh, this person can't act, why are they in movies, right? I just feel like she's lucked out having relationships with celebrities like Taylor Swift and whatnot. You was on Gossip Girl. That will forever be your biggest thing, right? Then they put her in other movies and she just is not a good actress. And she's just not good. But because she's attractive, right? I guess to white audience, because she checks off these white boxes of white, desirability politics, right? She's white, she's blonde, blue eye. Because she has all that going on, and she's also married to a big A-list movie star like Ryan Reynolds, she has the privilege to be able to continue to be in movies in Hollywood and have this A-list about her. She's really a C-lister. But because of her stature and status amongst the elite, they give her this A-list status, like they say her name, like as if we're supposed to stop her thing. And that's just very interesting. Like I will give Jennifer Aniston credit, right? Jennifer Aniston was a hit on a TV show, but Jennifer Aniston continued to be in films and movies and things. I mean, Friends will always be one of her highlights, but Jennifer Aniston has found a way to navigate. Now she's on the morning show, has been able to find a niche and still keep relevance. Blake Lively, I felt like none of her movies outside of outside of Gossip Girl, none of the movies she was in was ever popping like that. Like no one was ever like, oh my God, I gotta see this Blake Lively film. I feel like It Ends With Us, this recent film, is probably one of the best films she's been in or been a part of where she's the lead. And they say the movie apparently flopped, apparently. I don't recall it flopping. I thought it was all the controversy, was helping her. In my opinion. So, it ends with us is the name of the film. It ends with us. But I don't know if it flopped. I felt like it did good at the box office. Yeah, right. Yeah, It Ends With Us was a success at the box office. It wasn't a flop. I think the press around it was, but yeah, It Ends With Us was a box office success. It grossed over $350 million worldwide, even though it had a $25 million budget. So it was a success. It made so much at the box office, despite having mixed reviews. It had a 59% Rotten Tomato score. People didn't think the movie was that good, but the box office sales did decent. It did well in the box office. And there was also conversation and talks that there might be a sequel or potential more continuation, but it looks like Justin Baldini is not going to have it. He got dropped by his agency based on this news, and it looks like he's going to be canceled. So, listen, justice, justice is served. We'll see. We'll see. As far as music goes, music, we're in a holiday mode, so there's no new major releases, no new major singles. Everybody's taking it easy for the holidays. The charts, everybody want Mariah Carey, everybody want Wham, everybody want, rocking around the Christmas tree right now. It's holiday music season. Like I'm telling you, my mom, she's all into holiday music. Like we was in the car from the airport. She was just like, y'all mind is the hottest. Listen, no, mom, listen, this is your car. I'm all about it. It's just all we playing is holiday music. It's holiday music season. Like none of that Kendrick, all that other shit is ceased to exist. Everything's holiday music. Because that's just the mood, right? So I did listen to Lana, which is the new album by SZA. It is not SOS Deluxe. Let me tell you why I'm over that narrative. I'm so over the SZA girl. First of all, this album, Lana, has 15 new songs. It came out 2 years after SOS came out around this time, on the second year anniversary of SOS comes Lana. This is a brand new full-length album, child. I do not know why she keeps trying to. This is not deluxe. See, the deluxe shit is about to irk me. Everybody want a deluxe album, deluxe album. Are y'all just scared to just say that y'all dropping out full-length albums? Are y'all afraid that the album won't sell or won't do well, and you want to roll out what? You didn't do any music videos. The album is really good. It's a good album. I mean, it isn't the same type of energy that SZA fans wanted. SZA fans have wanted a new album for a minute, and this is really a new album. All this deluxe crap is bullshit. She might drop another one, but Lana is a full-length album. It's got 15 brand new songs, and it's a good, decent album. I mean, it's SZA, and she's going on tour with Kendrick next year. So what a great tour, because now she's going to tour with this new music. Here's the thing, though. I wonder if they're going to ever come to Philly, because it seems like every time that SZA tries to come to Philly, it's a curse. I don't know if y'all been following this. That is a real thing. Look up the SZA Philly curse. But for whatever reason, SZA can never get her ass into Philly. Even the Made in America. She's supposed to headline Made in America, and that didn't even happen. Every time she's had tour dates, it just won't happen. There is a curse. There's a SZA Philly curse. I mean, this has happened like 3 to 4 times over the years. And so just keep your eyes open, Philly folks, if y'all want to buy a ticket to see Kendrick and SZA, because, Kendrick might come, but SZA might find herself in a position where she might not come. It's something about this Philly crowd and SZA. I don't know what it is, but SZA's been having this for a while. So stay woke on that. As far as TV goes, as you all know, much is not happening on TV. I know there's a bunch of new series out, y'all. I am not watching all this TV. I am in this mode where I'm having to watch movies. It's Oscar, Golden Globe, SAG season. Y'all know I'm a part of Writers Guild of America, WGA East. So we just started our first round of voting. I can't tell you who I voted for in the categories, but we're judging writing. So everything's about screenplays. So I did TV and I did movies. So I voted for adapted screenplay, original screenplay, and right now we're doing nominations. So we have to pick our top 5 before we have to then pick the winner once the nominations get done. But I participate in voting. What happens with the Writers Guild sets the tone for what can happen for the Oscars. I'm not sharing who I think should win yet. I'm just going to reserve my thoughts because we're now in nomination category. Now, what I will say is that some of the categories, some of the films were not eligible according to WGA. So some movies that I wanted to put in certain categories to vote for, I couldn't because they didn't qualify. And these are like major films, like I'm thinking like The Substance and stuff like that. But The Wicked was definitely eligible. I don't know. Maybe is Wicked giving best adapted screenplay? We'll see. Definitely should be nominated at the Oscars. I don't know if I'm voting for it full time. I don't get to vote for the Oscars, but I get to vote for some of the other categories. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But I've been taking it easy. I just been watching baddies, bad Zeus TV. Zeus is trying to do some things, y'all. I don't know if you all heard this news, but Magazine Dreams, which is that big film that Jonathan Major is supposed to that starred in. Now remember, I think I talked about this when the Jonathan Major controversies came out last year. This film, y'all, was at all the Sundance, the indie films. People thought that Jonathan Majors was getting an Oscar nomination, which I have seen it. I have seen Magazine Dreams. It is a very compelling film. And interesting enough, Disney and other people dropped distribution. So no one really knew who was going to pick it up and if it was ever going to see the light of day. Well, Zeus has decided to pick it up. And people have said, well, is that a good thing or bad thing? I think it's a good thing for Zeus. Zeus is trying to, so I've heard that Zeus is trying to get past its Ratchet era. So Zeus is trying to no longer be the Ratchet, the Ratchet media platform. They're not trying to be Ratchet anymore. They're trying to make more high quality content. That's what they're allegedly trying to do. We'll see, y'all, but they're trying to grow up. They're trying to get with the times. They're trying to make more meaningful content that is going to be uplifting and thoughtful. And they still got their Ratchet TV, reality TV, but they're also still trying to create content that is meaningful as well. So we're going to see what is going to happen for sure. Because it's it's going to be interesting. For people to see it. I think it's going to get some more Zeus subscribers. I have a Zeus subscription. I am curious to see Zeus evolve in 2025. I think that the baddies era of Zeus is fading. They're going to still keep some of the content, but I think they are trying to evolve to being a multimedia complex. I think people got to look into um the owner. He is the owner of Zeus Network is no spring chicken. His name is Lumiel Plummer. He comes from a family. He's from Detroit. He's a black man. He's born in 1986. He's about to be he's like 38 years old. He's in his 30s. He's a millennial. He was born in Detroit and he grew up in a family that owned and operated multiple television stations. And he says he felt compelled to launch his own network because he wanted to see more black people in television network leadership positions. However, even though he's being praised for being an innovator, people feel like he's also been perpetuating negative stereotypes about black people, which is true. And I think that's been the concern. There's been a lot of headlines to talk about him. It's like, does Lumiel Plummer's Zeus Network represent everything that is wrong with how black people are portrayed on television? So while he is this entrepreneur, he's done his thing, the content on Zeus is problematic. I will not defend it. But I think he is trying to evolve past it. I think that was the hook. But if he gets movies like Magazine Dreams, if he starts to get these big development deals to get big major movies or interesting films on that platform, he's starting to do some interesting things with his TV. He's got this show called Project Smile, where there's this series of people who have had bad teeth that there's some surgery rework, like on some TLC content that's trying to help improve people's teeth and things. So I think he's trying to get through that era and phase. I do sense that Nally Nunn is feeling that pressure, and I think she's but I don't know. Ratchet TV era is definitely having its moment. I feel like we're getting past the aggressive, violent TV. I think, yes, there is an interest, there's an audience, but I think people want a little bit of balance. I think there's ways to find that balance. So we'll see. We'll see what he do. But it's going to be interesting to watch. So, but in wrapping up, next week is the finale, the season 7 finale of Ernestly speaking. And this is also another big deal. This is the 200th episode of Ernestly speaking. The 200th episode. Now, let me be very clear, because some of y'all are going to say, well, wait a minute. When I go on Apple or whatever, I see 200 something plus. Let me be very clear. Those other episodes are special editions. This is the 200th full-length episode for a show of Ernestly speaking. And this is also special next week. Next week will also mark the 4th anniversary of this podcast. This podcast, the bonus episode, the initial episode was formed. It was like a preview episode, was birthed during the eve of 2021. So late 2020, I put out my first preview episode, introduced you to who I was about, what I was interested in. It's so interesting. I want to go back and listen to that episode. I haven't listened to it in years, but my life has changed so much since then. Clearly, it was 4 years ago. I wasn't married. I was on the verge of getting married. The pandemic had happened. We was in the pandemic for sure, but the world, this is like right the year before I got married. And the first season was building up to my wedding, actually, my 30th birthday. So I was 29 years old. I was not 30 yet. And, my life was very different. And so here I am 4 years later, and here we are. So this has been consistency. This has been one of the most consistent projects I've ever done in my life. And 200 episodes. The devotion, commitment. This is what commitment looks like. I set up on a quest, and I remember when I did that episode, I told y'all I had the curse of 2 seasons of something, or I would do something and it, but I really stuck with this for so long, and I just this is it's just a blessing. So 200th episode is going to wrap up 2024. It's going to wrap up season 7. It is going to be epic. So we're going to have a season finale and a 200th episode. It's going to be a great year-end endeavor. And then I'm going to be on a break. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a 1-week break. I'm not going to be on air because I'm going to, that week, I really just want to breathe and just recuperate and get my life together. Because, I'm coming into 2025 strong. So the show will come back on Monday, January 13th. That's a special day for folks who don't know. Y'all know about January 13th? January 13th is a big day. A lot of my, a lot of birthdays, y'all. It's gonna be a lot of special days. For sure. But yeah, Monday, it's cool. It's great. January 13th is the season premiere of Ernestly Speaking. And it's also the birthday of one of my besties, Dr. Parks. Dr. Parks' birthday is on January 13th. And so it's going to be super exciting. Yeah, her birthday's on the 13th. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. So she's going to celebrate her lovely birthday. She's, well, I don't know. I won't tell her age. I don't think she cares. But we were both born in 1991, so you can guess her age then. So, you know. Yeah, she's gonna have her birthday. So the premiere of the show is gonna premiere literally on her birthday. Which is gonna be super exciting. But yeah, we'll be back then. But I'll be taking my nice little holiday break. But that's not until we got some time, so that's not gonna be, to be clear, that's not going to be next week. So next week will be the 30th. That'll be right before the end of the year. The 30th will be the finale. That'll be the 200th episode. And then we will not see each other until the 13th. So there'll be like a 2-week hiatus. But I want to get y'all ready. So y'all got one more episode before this season concludes. But it's going to be one. And I'm going to tell y'all a couple of secrets. I think I'm going to tell y'all a couple of things coming up in 2025 that I've been holding on to. So stay tuned, for sure. And wishing you all a happy, Merry Christmas. Hanukkah has landed. The first Hanukkah lands on Christmas Day. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa, for those who observe. Boxing Day for my Canadians, happy Boxing Day. Or for my Brits too, and all y'all, happy Boxing Day, all of that. Happy, all the holidays. And if you don't celebrate a holiday, just stay warm out there, okay? If you on the East Coast, I'm in the South enjoying this 70-degree weather for the rest of the week. But you all stay warm, stay warm. Yes. Lit Brothers and I'll be back on Friday. Lit Brothers and I are actually going to be in Atlantic City. Next Saturday, we're going to go to Hard Rock Atlantic City Resort. The Lit Brothers are doing our trip. Pitbull. We're going to go see Pitbull. It's going to be cute. And then we're going to really kick off the New Year's celebrations and festivities. So hopefully you all enjoy. But as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.